Hi, everybody, and welcome. It's me, Aurora. This is May 29th, 2024. I have to actually think about what year it is and make sure I say the right word. And today is all about harmonics here on Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans. Harmonics is a word that I did not even know when I first came here into this world as a walk-in. I guess I had a limited vocabulary and limited levels of education. And it was not until I shared this piece of artwork with the world at an art show. Wait, let me collapse this down for us. There we go. This was like in maybe 2006 or so. So I had been here for 5 years. It's being 5 years old. I was a kindergartner, and I had painted this beautiful glass piece, which, if you're a long time student participant, you will know it died a horrible death, very sadly, as a heavy object dropped upon it. That's why I don't paint on glass anymore. Very sad when that happens. But we can laugh about it, but at least I have the pictures of it. But I presented this glass piece at an art show. And again, that was early in my experience here of sharing my concepts and my messages with the world. And I didn't have the same level of vocabulary and articulation that I currently do. And someone came up to me at the art show and said, "You are painting harmonics." And I said, "Whoa." I just nodded thoughtfully, and I always carried with me a little notebook at the time, and I wrote down that word harmonics. And then I went home and looked it up, because the truth is I didn't even know what that word meant. Okay? That is how much I had to learn communication skills. So the answer is yes. I have been painting visual harmonics for a very long amount of time. And that word actually means perfectly nested waves that are proportional. And these waves can be visual waves, which are what you saw in that painting. And my paintings represent non-optical light, which is what we are also going to be talking about in your light body, which is also your information body, or your body of pure data, or I used the word information already. Light is intelligence, the body of pure divine intelligence, but harmonics also relates to sound waves. Let's play some music. Let's play some good music. If I'm going to play music, so you guys can't see, but I've got my pianos and my MIDI all set up here for us. And I've also got my little percussive instrument. So wait, this is an electronic piano that's here. This is a MIDI instrument over here. And this, that I'm going to play with my little mallet, is a resonant instrument that is live and acoustic. And this one is special because it's tuned to 432 hertz. And what is special about 432 hertz? The characteristics of that particular frequency wave integrates more effectively with your natural biology and the biology of our world, the entire biological living presence of the world, than the traditionally tuned 440 hertz. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry. If you do know what I'm talking about, or if you're an expert and you want to talk about all the different tunings, then I'm open to that as well, because there are many different philosophies. But here's what you need to know. Wait, first I should play this for you, because you're like, "Aurora, I'm dying here. Play the music." This one's going to be a little bit lighter on you, and it's over here to the side. I can tilt my whole thing if you want to see it, but let's play a little something for you here. Let's go through the whole scale, actually. I'm going to make it all go quiet. And now I'm just going to play something simpler. And what I want you to listen for is what I call the wah wah wah. All right? Listen for the wah, 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 everyone. Now, I don't know how much you can hear that over Zoom, because Zoom does funny things with compression, even though what I've got right now is non-compressed audio settings, as good as I can get. That wah, wah, wah happens because of the characteristics of waves when they come together, which is amplifying one another. And so what I'm going to do now is go to the whiteboard. I'm squinting, I'm scrolling. Where's the whiteboard setting? There's no whiteboard setting here. There's no whiteboard setting here. This doesn't, I'm frustrated and angry. Okay, let's just pull up a picture that I'm going to use, and I will draw on top of the picture because sometimes this agitates me. Just don't even get agitated. Life is too short, it ain't worth it. But I just made a weird mark. Now I don't know how to rewind it. Okay, so let's draw what I mean by amplifying. So first of all, this is something that I'm going to use in order to be able to talk about our solar system, harmonics cymatics, which is the organizational nature of matter as it relates to compression waves. Basically, waves organize matter. Waves organize matter. Waves organize matter. Waveforms organize matter. When you have a C note, so let's say this is a sound wave that represents a C on my note. I'll play a C for you. Here's a C. Here's another C. Those are both tuned to 440. Here's a C that's tuned to 432. All right? It's made out of a vibrating string. Even though the ones that are electronic, I don't actually have vibrating strings, but maybe they're an auditory recording of a vibrating string or something that approximates a vibrating string. And the ones that are over here on my resonant instrument, they're not vibrating strings, they're tubes, more like a xylophone. But as they vibrate, there is a length, and this is the wave length. And we measure in music the frequency of the tone that we are making based upon the wavelength. And you can have a C that's a terrible C. Help me. Somebody help me. This was already going badly. You can have one that is that size, and you can also have one that is half the same size. Like if I were to cut this in half, dot, dot, dot down the middle, right? And I made one that was half as long in terms of the wavelength. You can already tell I'm struggling with my tools here. Let's just try it. Roughly approximated. This plus this equals this. It's tall, louder. And there are places where it crosses over. There are areas where the two waveforms integrate together and become louder. And there are also areas in harmonic patterns, which are called interference patterns, where the waveforms cancel each other out. Because if I were to draw a complementary waveform going like this, like a mirror image at the bottom, these two things cancel each other out and they neutralize to a line which would be considered neutral. I said that word twice. They neutralize to a line that would be like considered zero. So if that line is 0 and this is 1 and this is -1 over here, you have -1 in this downward sine wave, +1 in this upward sine wave, and then 0 if those two things come together. So I will now gesture with my hands. I feel like I'm already losing people. You're like, Aurora, like we're scared. We don't know what's going on. It's just even worse than math. It's math and it's music. Like, just guys, just go with it. Musicians go with things. Go with it. Okay, so here is the upward wave. Here is the downward wave. They make a circle. Everything in formfulness is actually made out of circles and spheres. So we are working with circles as a simplification, but know that these are spherical compression waves that come outward, but I'm giving you cross sections. And when you have a this plus a this perfectly lined up, they cancel each other out into silence. If you have ever had some of those fancy Bose noise cancellation headphones, a ton of research has gone into creating those headphones so that what you can do is wear them on like a noisy airplane and not hear the noise of the airplane, because if you have a bunch of sound waves going up like this, the headphones calculate it and they make sound waves that go down like this and cancel it out to make it quiet. So it's very, very sophisticated ways of being able to calculate the antithesis. You have thesis, and then you have antithesis, and then they cancel each other out into neutrality. This is also a form of visual math or harmonics math. An interference pattern is what you will perceive when you have a variety of waves coming from different sources, that some of them cancel each other out, as I've been gesturing for you, and some of them amplify one another. A this plus a this makes a this taller. That means if it's light, it is brighter. If it's sound, it is louder. Let's now go back to the solar system, because the reason why you have the solar system in the shape that you do is because of harmonics. So this is not completely perfectly drawn to scale, but it gives me a little bit of something to work with, and clearly this is not my drawing, my artwork that I'm working with. It's just a little representation of something that I can use as a gesture here. But you have the sun, which is, you know, at the center of this radiative architecture of the solar system, and then you have these various orbits. So, you know, I'm just kind of like drawing these ellipses, you know, this is very, very rough drawing that go around like this, right? And they are not in random arrangements at all. The distances between, let's say, the sun and Mercury, the sun and Venus, the sun and Mars, the sun and Earth, and all the way out to Uranus. We can make lots of jokes. I'm always open to silly jokes, even this early in class, are all dictated by the same patterns that are the patterns that have to do with your body and you being alive. The solar system is alive. It is a macrocosmic expression of the microcosm of you. You are a nested harmonic form within the perfect proportional, I don't want to say the word harmonic again, but frequency structure, the frequency structure that is the larger solar system. So wait, I'm trying to juggle too many things at once. I just pressed share. Now you can see my calendar too. Now you can see this. No, I cannot move this thing. I cannot move this thing. I just want to move this right in front of you here. Okay. Like when the technology works, I'm like, I'll just relax. Okay, so wait, but now I don't know if I can actually get the little gesture, the little, nope, that's not what I want. That's what I want. I want that, but I don't want this. That, no, I want this, but I don't want this. Sometimes, guys, just that, I want this, but I don't want that. Good. Okay, now I'm back to being calm. Give me a minute, collect myself here. All right. So this glass painting represents time. This represents harmonics of time. All right, because we talked about auditory sound waves. We talked about visual sound waves. These are the non-optical light waves that represent your body, and we're talking about harmonics of time. To recap, every single one of these layers, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, represent layers of time. And in this painting over here, you might not be able to see it very effectively, but there is a white dot that's up at the top, and it's actually one of my reasons why I like to use that as an example, and also because you can really see that this painting graphically depicts all of these layers leading to infinity. So if you are familiar with one-point perspective, and I'm sure you are, like if you have ever looked at any piece of artwork, just any, any piece, from the Mona Lisa onward in your cultural background, you have perceived one-point perspective, which is basically you've got one dot in the distance and then all of the other lines radiate towards that dot, as if you are looking down a tunnel or looking down a long road, or even if you were to, well, even you could see it here on the screen, the convergence point of all of those lines meeting at infinity is the visual information that this arrangement is conveying to you. This dot of infinity is the source and the destination. It is singularity. It is where all of these lines emanate from and all of these lines emanate to. Every single one of these layers, that is you, is in amount of time, I don't have words for it, moving at a different rate. So this is the amount of time that you might be the most familiar with. It represents the physical world. It's your somatic cellular body and it's other people and edifices and all of the stuff that you can see and weigh and measure easily with the five senses. But all of this stuff that I'm scribbling upon is ephemera, things that are not easily visible with the five senses or measured with the five senses. And these all represent successively more delicate layers of who you are as a being in time. And each one of these layers also represents the depth within which you are submerged in time. So down here, red, this is full submersion. This is light that is fully submerged in time and has been slowed down to the point of matter. Orange, emotional energy, is submerged in time, but not fully to the point of being coalesced as matter of the five senses. Intellect, slightly less coalesced. Unconditional love, slightly less coalesced. All the way through this communication and insight. And then here, this one I really want to emphasize. This violet chakra is representative or analogous to your DNA. And so let's draw a big giant cell. People keep on coming into the meeting. Big giant cell over here. Pretend it's a perfect circle, please. I have so much trouble with my drawing tools. I complain a lot. That's your nucleus. And let's make this white dot representative of that same dot. These two dots are the same. Oh my God, another person is in there. And now I drew another dot mistakenly. Now I'm making mistakes. So these two dots are the same dots, all right? So this long painting here is a deconstruction of showing something that is actually nested together for the purposes of being able to nest things together. Please mute yourself if you have entered into the meeting. Thank you very much. And the white dot represents your connection to the source, divinity, and God, whatever word you would like to choose for that. So here in this picture of the cell that I am drawing for you, there is no white dot that you'll see under a microscope, but you will see I'm making purple squiggles. You can't really see that effectively against the gray background, but that's your DNA. And your DNA is directly analogous to this, the violet crown chakra. So DNA, I say to you all the time in this class, is a bridge of light between your physicality presence and your non-physicality presence, which is this structure that is made out of possibilities and probabilities. It is light information. It is also analogous to math, don't jump out the window, in that it is created out of a series of perfectly numerical forms, formfulnesses, patterns, perfectly numerical patterns. Your DNA is the bridge that represents those those patterns that are numerical and are proportional and are representing divine intelligence. And your DNA is barely in existence, in physical existence. You can see it under a microscope. But what I'm trying to say with those words, what I'm laboring so much to say, is that this is the area of you that is only barely submerged in time. So you're on a journey, all right? You're on a time journey. Your consciousness. You're not a person yet. You don't have a body yet. And how do you get a body? You don't just jump directly from this white dot down into here. You go through a whole journey, the journey of embodiment. And this journey of embodiment, it has to do with consciousness moving through successive layers of slowing down and coalescing until it becomes matter. And this is a harmonic journey. So the first thing that you need to know about is, I love speaking about this because it's perfect, like we don't have to talk about crapola and all the stuff I usually talk about. The way that this unfoldment happens, just choose a different color, you'll just be able to see it a little bit better. But it comes from that white light source place, and then everything moves in these circles and spirals and circulates through in perfect, again, circles through these rounded architectures to be able to then enter into your physical body. Now you also see in this painting, things don't line up perfectly. Like this edge here is far away from this edge here, but they all line up very, very well in the painting that's on the left. That's why I have different paintings to be able to show the truthfulness of different things. So if you look at this painting over here, this yellow edge and this orange edge, they line up perfectly right there. And this green edge lines up with orange and with yellow. And this blue edge lines up with green perfectly over here. And over here, both violet and light blue and dark blue all line up perfectly. So I have different, like I said, levels of accuracy that have to do with just the challenges of being able to present something that is a multi-dimensional truth in a flat static image. So I'm working as best I can with the symbolic representation of this. All right? Summation is, when you are looking at this painting over here, you're looking down the time tunnel. Right now you can envision that you're standing here in the perspective of the physical, looking towards infinity, and that you are looking down the time tunnel, that you are standing in this level of embodiment density, and that as you look towards the distance, quote unquote, what you're seeing is time receding from you. And every single one of these successive layers is a layer of your being that is actually moving faster. So this is the slowest layer of your being where you're standing. And then these guys are all faster and faster and faster until you get up to here, which is your fastest layer of being before you get up to infinity. And I am calling this the human octave, even though the word octave has as its root oct, which is 8, and there are 7 layers. And I don't want to drive you crazy, but it's just how we talk about it. So we can call that white dot number 8, because we're going to say red is 1. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, plus white makes 8. Okay, let's play it on the piano for you. Let's play it again. Let's play it again. This one's I'm gonna play it loud as much as I can. When you play all those layers together, you get you. This is the human octave, or the slice of the frequency pie that we define as humanness. There's definitely something that is at this end of the spectrum, so I guess that would be if I scribbled down here. Someone smart, someone said, that's Bose-Einstein condensate. I said, yes, you are smart. And then up above here, even faster than violet, but not quite yet, at infinity. So not faster than infinity, but somewhere between violet and infinity. So please know that this is an infinite scale. It's an infinite journey. And we are talking about our experience between here and here, what it is presently to be defined as a human. Now I want to go back to my face. We'll do more talking and scribbling. And we want to talk about what it is to be a bumblebee. Aurora, stop. No, wait, stick with me. Okay, bumblebees have like these fat bodies and these little tiny wings, not even just like a regular honeybee, but one of the big bumblebees. And technically, those are so aerodynamically impossible, they should not be able to fly. But they do. I see them in my neighborhood all the time. And what has been found out about them is that what is creating the lift of the bumblebee is not merely the surface area of its wings as it flaps very, very hard, because that's what you think. You think like, oh, like an aeroplane has to have big, long wings to be able to carry a little body. But we got the opposite with the bumblebee. We got tiny wings and a big, fat body. How can this be? It's not the size of the surface area of the wings. It is the frequency at which they are buzzing, and also bees' thoraxes. Bees have a segmented body, head, thorax, and abdomen. They buzz with their thorax and create a harmonic frequency that is complementary to the frequency of our planetary infrastructure. And our planetary infrastructure is created, you guys know about this, it's called the Schumann resonance, and I'm just not going to get to the whiteboard in order to draw it for you. I'll just gesture with my hands. Here is Earth, surface, crust, where you plant your plants. And then here is Earth's outer atmosphere. And there's space between those two places. The Schumann resonance is the spherical resonance, again the word, vibration of energy that is bouncing back and forth between those two places. And it actually happens due to the lightning strikes. The lightning strikes striking Earth are analogous to my mallet striking my resonant instrument over here. That was one lightning strike. And so the Schumann resonance oscillates, sometimes is louder or softer, dependent upon how many lightning strikes there are in various different storms that are going on Earth. All right? And it's wah-wah-wahing. The wah-wah-wah. The musicians talk like this sometimes. It's a feeling state. Has a natural frequency. This is called the Schumann resonance. And it hovers around 7.58. So I have a wonderful tuning fork. I won't get it for you. You won't be able to hear it. That's why I didn't set it up for today. But I use it as part of my healing work. And I use the tuning fork and put it on my body. I don't hear it with my earth ears, but I feel it. I feel it vibrating on my body, and I use that for healing. And my dog can hear it, though, because she runs out of the room when I use that tuning fork. She's like, I don't like that noise. That tuning fork is tuned to 7.58 hertz, which is the frequency of how fast those waves are moving, or I should say their wavelength. It's just, we'll not split too many hairs on the words that I'm using. But the point about the buzzing bees is that they hold themselves aloft by calibrating their own thorax motions with the larger motions of the planetary frequency. All right? Frequency is everything. Frequency is incredibly sophisticated, much, much greater than materialism, although it is something that can be perceived through material instruments and is a phenomenon of the physical world. but it is not something you can weigh on a scale. So it is something that up until this point, materialists and materialism have not been able to effectively acknowledge and recognize, utilize, harness, or even accept. And then right now, get into negative stuff. Wait, where's my pad of negativity? And it's negative stuff because we get stuff that's, ooh, I have to turn my pages here. Some of these things that are the end result of frequencies that are emitted from telecommunications networks that are unhealthy, unhealthful, and are pretty much the opposite of everything that we're trying to do and to cultivate. So these are able to hold themselves aloft because they are in complement. Like I was talking about the two C notes, like here's a lower C and here's a higher C. And you know what? They sound pretty together. They sound pretty together because they fit together perfectly. So if you have a 12-inch circle that goes all the way across your screen, and then you have a 6-inch circle, they fit together perfectly because 6 goes into 12 two times, all right? But what if you have a 12-inch circle and then you have like a 3.75-inch circle? They don't fit together perfectly. There will be extras hanging over the edge. And that is disharmonic. That is disharmony. I will now play something disharmonic. You want to cover your ears. That doesn't sound like music. If I put that on a record, no one would buy it. They'd be like, this is not music. Maybe they would be avant-garde or something like that. But music is considered when we have organized sound waves that are perfectly harmonic, and that is part of the artistry of it. So all of this in order to say, if you want to have a solar system, you got to conform to harmonics. Basically, if you want to have matter, you got to conform to harmonics. If you want to have biological life, like a body that stays alive, you got to conform to harmonics. If you want to be in time and be alive and not dead, you got to conform to harmonics, all right? And that the stuff that we've got going on in our world right now, there's tons of disharmonics. My dog is definitely my audio engineer because like she doesn't like disharmonic sounds. She doesn't like the sound of garbage trucks. And we hate Mondays. We hate Mondays because Monday is garbage truck day. I mean, there's so many garbage trucks around the neighborhood, and they are not only stinky, they're also very loud and disharmonic. You can, I'm sure, think of many other aspects of your environment that are auditory, not pleasant. Jackhammers are disharmonic. Lawn mowers and leaf blowers are all disharmonic. And as you are awakening your light body, you will become, like my dog, much, much more sensitive to frequency, much, much more aware of things that are disharmonic in your environment. And it is actually one of the greatest challenges that you are facing in terms of awakening to the truth of your light body, which is your non-optical body of pure time information, while in a disharmonic environment. That's what I also say sometimes about like swimming in a garbage pile or a sewer. Like the frequencies that are here right now are not the perfectly arranged frequencies of the natural realm, which is what we should be experiencing, which would be like in a pristine forest. You would feel those frequencies, or even in a desert, a wasteland desert. That would be better than most modern cities, because in most modern cities now, not only do you have garbage trucks, jackhammers, skateboards. My dog hates skateboards, because you know why? It's got all those little ball bearings in there that make up frequency. That is a disharmonic frequency. That is not pleasant to listen to. But then you also have the things that are, it's my phone, frequencies that come from telecommunications that are, again, we don't hear them auditorily, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. To speak in non-negative positives, they do exist. Just because you don't hear them, they do exist. So yes, and I will also speak to this because I heard you telepathically. There have been many, many other times and places and cultures in this world when humans have been much, much more frequency conscientious about frequencies and conscientiously sensitive about the frequency environment that they create. Places like ancient Egypt, where not only did the Great Pyramid at Giza emit frequencies that were harmonic and biologically positive and consciously, they were supportive of the cultivation of consciousness, but then also use tuning forks and other forms of frequency tools to be able to heal the body. And in that time place, like the idea of cutting open a person for physical surgery while that person is alive to be able to quote unquote heal them or fix them, would be like, we don't do that. Like, of course not. Like, we're not going to make you worse to make you better. No, they would use frequency. So yes, so frequency medicine, very, very valid. And also in this time and place, not very many people are frequency sensitive enough to even know about, comprehend, or treat or receive treatment in the forms of things like homeopathy and flower essences. This is frequency medicine, and that's also, technically, that is what these crystals are really made for. Even though you always see me, what I'm doing with them is using them to protect my energy field from all of the frequency crapola, so I can even have peace of mind. But these are also really wonderful for being able to emit specific healing frequencies. So being a musician is very, very selective. Like, if you're a musician, you're like, no, it's all about the tuning. Everything has to sound just right. It's not okay if it's off a little bit. And that's the way it is when you're when you are awakening your light body, when you're using frequency medicine for healing yourself or others. And then also, let's go back to ancient concurrent Atlantis, which is where we ate frequency. We ate frequency, but we did not eat the piano. It's kind of a sad note. Ate the music, but we did not eat the piano. So what we did in that, or do in that time place, is create beautiful, extensive gardens. Plants emit a frequency. I know if you can see, I have lots of house plants around my house. Most of them are rescues. I rescue plants when people have thrown them in the trash, and I rescue them when people have abandoned them and they are clearly going to die. And I'm like, you're not going to die. I'm taking you home. I rescued a plant from a restaurant in town. Rescue stole. I'm confessing. I hope nobody arrests me. But I talked to the manager, and they still kept that plant outside with no container. Its roots are out in the air. It's getting no water. I'm walking past it every day. Like, I'm rescuing that plant. So anyway, confession done. Plants emit a frequency that people are just starting to be able to create these little electrode type of, amplifiers to put on plants' leaves, and then it will translate for you into a MIDI instrument that actually sounds like something that you can hear with your ears, because here people need a little bit of help to be able to hear that music. But I'm telling you that plants are always singing, and that is its own form of nourishment, and that surrounding yourself with plants is essential in the ascension process and healing and cultivating your light body. So not even just ingesting a plant or taking the essence of a flower and putting that into your water or putting that into a crystal or somehow, adorning your body with that feeling state, but being around it, having that plant in your home, singing that song, is healing and nourishing. And in ancient Atlantis, we spent a lot of our time in extensive gardening projects. And we cultivated whole areas to be able to have harmonically complementary plants, just the same way that in this current time place you've got orchestras where you've got like the deep drums and the high piccolos. Here you've got the low notes and the high notes. All sound pretty together, depending upon how put them together. It's essential. So timing is also a big part of harmonics. It's not just that you have circles that are like this or that are like this, but you also have to coordinate their movement together. And all of this coordinated movement, you've either got the atmosphere moving in sound waves that are compression waves that are complementary, or you've got light waves that are like my painting that are clearly moving in a complementary fashion, or time waves. Time waves that are moving in a complementary fashion, that would be considered events, synchronized events. And this is what I do with my beautiful flying rainbow lasagna dancers when we dance. And I want you to know that those events that we coordinate with, there's larger scale time wave harmonics. Big stuff that happens at the level of geological time. My computer's doing crazy stuff. I have to press buttons. This is very hard. Just giant geological scale eras of thousands or millions of years. And then stuff that is about what's happening on a day-to-day level, 24-hour cycles, and then stuff that's happening, over an hour or over a few minutes. And that even coordinating down to the level of your metabolic processes. And what I mean by that is like how your glucose in your body is being metabolized, how your cell membranes are allowing in certain materials through their porosity, or activating certain hormonal structures or neurotransmitters, responding to neurotransmitters, cell-to-cell communication. All of these processes are like musicians in the band, and they're coordinating together. And when your body processes are in the right harmonic state, and you are embedded in time, moving at the right rate, what's happening is you're like that bee with the buzzing thorax, and you remain aloft. Longevity and coherence. That's what that means. Every single bit of what you're doing with your body becomes a supportive, nourishing time structure. That also, not only are you sustained, but you sustain your environment. And that is what love is. So when I talk about the love tone, we're playing A. Here's an A. Here's an A. That's buzzing. Let me fix it. Well, anyway. The note of A I have determined to be the love tone, although 528 is another love tone, which is why there's a whole scholarly discussion, which is why I could spend 5 hours talking to people about this. We won't delve into it that much, but we'll just say love is a tone, not merely a mammalian emotion, and that tone is created when you are perfectly integrated into time, when you are fully invested in the moment, in a state of frictionless bliss, where you are not holding on to or retaining or trailing out onto the past, or being determined by the past, or destabilized, anticipating, reaching forward in the future, when you are just moving at exactly the right rate, like me on my treadmill here, one moment per moment. And that's at the Planck length, okay? You make the love tone. That's what it is to be in love with life. That's what it is to be in love. In love, like you're in tune with the band. So this is very, very different than saying like you're in love with a person, or even being in love with whatever, a dog or a cat. You know I love my dog. This is about being in love with a circumstance. And when you are in love, you are in time, and you are moving in exactly the right rate. And that is an absolute achievement. It's not the pinnacle of achievement, but it is base camp for all the things that we do with our higher faculties at being able to create that love tone of steadiness in being immersed in time, okay? So now we have to go back to what is cymatics. Cymatics is literally the arrangement of physical particles of matter according to waveform presences, such as an interference pattern. You can see the visibility of cymatics if you take a plate and you sprinkle talcum powder or something like that upon it, and then you either use regular instruments to vibrate the plate, or you can use a violin bow, or you can do different things to make that plate vibrate. But what happens is the surface vibrates, it sets up waveform patterns, and you'll see complexities, areas where the talcum powder arranges itself and areas where it cannot arrange itself. And there are some places where the matter cannot arrange itself because of the waveforms that are there. This is interference patterns. So if we go back to the solar system, the reason why you have the solar system in the shape that you, I'll just do desktop, why it's in the shape that you have it is because like there's no planet here, because that's interference pattern. So what you've got is you've got a planet here, and then you've got the next orbit, and you've got a planet here, because those are the places where the waves allow the matter to coalesce. And then you have these areas, I will scribble in a different color, where you cannot have matter here because the waveforms do not allow the matter to coalesce. So now we have to get a little bit into what has happened in terms of sad stories. This is a little bit of preparation. Wait, I'm pulling up my notes every time I press on a button and a new thing happens. It drives me crazy. A little bit of the challenges. Oh wait, and I didn't talk enough. Wait, before I get into the sad story, let me go back and let me talk about, so wait, bookmark the sad story, because I want to talk to you in the ideal nature of your own body form, how your physical, sorry, hold on, let me get one picture that I want to get for us. I already did my squinting and scrolling before class, but I'm doing one more right now. I can't help myself. It's definitely like some kind of whatever, addictive food. I can't help myself. I need one more picture. And make it feel it funny faces. Make it funny faces. Make it funny faces. It's all the way down at the end of the list, and so I have to make so many funny faces. Good. Because this is up not to do this. Now I can't see anything. Oh my God. It was worth it, guys. It was worth it so I could show you this. Because, okay, so when I teach my class about energetic anatomy, I use this painting because this is super duper accurate and is able to show, even though you're looking at it and you're like, oh, like, I cannot comprehend what I'm seeing here. And I'm like, don't worry, I will help you. Because in here I didn't omit any information. So on some of my paintings I do simplifications where I omit some information and then I make some information easily visible. Here I just put in the entire kitchen sink. But like if you can see where I'm making this white dot, there is a edge of green that relates perfectly to an edge of yellow. That means your green unconditional love chakras and the ability to roll through time in an unimpeded frictionless bliss is related to your thought structures, your daily analytical conscious waking intellect. All right, those two things are related. Let's do another one. Erase that so you don't get too confused with all the like stuff on your screen. Here's another one. Here's a dot where the edge of turquoise fits perfectly into the edge of green. There is a harmonic relationship between truth and unconditional love. Honesty, authenticity, the ability to speak your truth and unconditional love. I think you're starting to comprehend this on an anthropomorphic level. If you do not have full acceptance, unconditional love, of the information that is coming to you, you cannot speak your truth. If you edit stuff out, if you close your heart, if you destabilize aspects of your heart chakra, then it means that you will not be able to fully communicate authentically. There is also a big interaction between your insight, which is, so you've got your pineal gland up here in your anthropomorphic body, right? Where I make that white dot. But then you've got an energy field that comes outward from that is your blue energy field that I'm roughly, making a circle around like that. And that blue energy field nests perfectly within this orange energy field that goes down into your guts. And your guts are down here in your sacral sacrum. And your basically indigo blue chakra connects directly, has a direct relationship to your orange emotional mammalian chakras. And these are two different forms of intelligence beyond your daily analytical intelligence. Your insight, which is laser-like in focus, and your intuition, which is amorphous. If I were to say, if you have different settings on the garden hose of your mind, my garden hose has direct jet that's like really, really strong, but that's gonna kill the seedlings, shoot out like a laser. And then it also has shower, mist, that's kind of generalized. The energy of insight coming from your pineal gland is like the jet. It is highly, highly focused. In fact, it is literally a laser. And the energy from your guts down here is generalized. It is not like a laser. But these are both two forms of perception that are not the daily waking intellect. And they're completely related to one another. Basically, emotional mammalian intelligence and pure insight, which is knowing beyond words. So as you start to comprehend this, like I'll use music as an example. C and E fit together. Wait, so play it on the piano so it's a little clearer for you. Here is C, here is E. And these two fit together. They make a chord. But they actually, because I can tell you wanted the third note because you usually hear this. Those three notes fit together. So you understand that each one of these layers of your being that is harmonic has a relationship with the other layers of your being. Like here you've got daily waking intellect yellow connecting to mammalian orange, but then I also told you you've got a direct connection of mammalian orange to blue. So you've got orange, yellow, blue, all fit together and all make something happen. My voice doesn't sound that good today. The harmonic nature of who you are, the complexities of your perception as it relates to the different layers of your being in different fastnesses moving through time, or how much they are submerged through time. You can see this is like a tunnel. This is the tunnel moving backwards through here to infinity over here, and then this is you in the center of this tunnel circumstance here. So the complexities that comprise basically the miracle of consciousness and the journey that you're on. Let's also do this very, very fast with using this as my little map for you. Grab my pen so I can draw a little bit better. So, okay, energy comes actually, you can think of that white dot as being up above your head like that, but you can also think of it as being internal. It is actually right there in the center of everything. And that is where all of these figure eights emanate from. They emanate around like that, and then they get bigger and bigger and bigger. So please forgive the difficulties that I have in working with this digital pen, but I'm going to do it like this, and then you'll kind of see what I'm talking about until we get out to like the biggest ones, all right? Very, very bad scribble. But if I erase that now and you just look at the painting, now you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. That these emanations of self come from the source. They emanate outward, 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 and then that's not the end of the journey. Then they go inward, 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 and then they all come back in. So you're on a journey of matter, and this is also the journey that I describe in my lesson that is called the Rainbow Bridge. The Rainbow Journey. Rainbow Journey, I think it's lesson 7 of level 1, and that describes in detail exactly what I was just talking with you about. The very miraculous journey of consciousness emerging from the source, going through these different layers of fastness until it comes into physicality structure, which is where you are. That is not the end of the journey. then the return, which is energizing matter back to light speed, coming from a world of pure light and then returning to a world of pure light. And that happens in every moment, and that also happens in your lifespan, and that is what the ascension process is, all right? So now let's talk about bad stuff. Hooray! Let's talk about bad stuff, because there are problems in the solar system. It is not okay. I'm making my SpongeBob face and making it funny because it is not okay. Even though you might have lived a relatively stable life or had millennia of human history, and many, the ability to have a huge amount of infrastructure created on Earth right now, there have been problems for a very long time throughout your whole entire solar system. So when I talk to you about the Pooties, those pesky occupiers of the interstices, and I will always give a hat tip to Pedro for coming up with that wonderful acronym for us. What are the Pooties? As I grab my little chakra sculpture here, they are consciousness residues. Oh no, somebody broke over here. That exist on the membrane over here at this area of the vortex. If this area represents life, the circulation of energy through timelines where a person is embodied and alive, when you hit the boundary of that vortex, that is what death is. And these are occupiers of the membrane of death. In fact, now I'm going to press a button again, and my screen is going to go crazy because I just want to press the button and read the thing. Then I have to press another button because another crazy thing is happening. And then I'm going to have to scroll because I want to read to you verbatim, because sometimes my stuff that I write is so good. So I sent out my notes to everyone in the class. I want to talk to you about, okay, first of all, what you're experiencing right now is an ancient conflict that is being resolved in your day-to-day, moment-to-moment experience of you, the individual on Earth, and the evolution or expression of your DNA. The dramatic events that led to the destruction of the planet that used to be between Mars and Jupiter, which is mythologically known by various different names. It is sometimes called Tiamat. It is sometimes called Marduk. It is sometimes referred to as Malduk. There's all sorts of different names for it. All that you need to know is, like a guitar has 6 strings, so pretend my hand has 6 fingers, and I'm holding them up. And imagine that one of these fingers is missing, and then you're like, wow, like that's a guitar that has a missing string. And when I play the music, it sounds kind of okay, but it doesn't really sound like my favorite rock and roll musicians at all. What is going on here? And the answer is you're missing a string. You are missing a string. You have a whole entire missing planet in your solar system. And this predates the conflict on Mars. And so those Pooties, they didn't just come out of nowheresville. They came from somewheresville. They came from Mars. Why were they on Mars? Because originally they were on Tiamat, or Malduk, this destroyed planet. And what happened there? What happened there destabilized that planet, and that planet got vibrated out of existence. I need to drink some more water. Pardon me. So I've used this expression before. Galloping Gertie, it's a bridge that was in the Pacific Northwest. I think it's called Tacoma Narrows. A bridge that was built across a narrow gorge. And the guys at that time, it's like early 1900s, they're like, we're good at engineering, but we don't know anything about harmonics. And so they're like, we build stuff, but we don't know about frequency. And they built this bridge, and the frequency of the wind blowing through that narrow gorge was like a flute. You blow through the tube of the flute, and it makes a noise that amplifies, wah, 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 wah. That's what they got with their bridge. And there's beautiful pictures that you can find, even some film of the bridge going like, really, I'm not even exaggerating. And then it breaks apart, because that's what harmonics can do. That's what happened to that planet. And what happened to that planet is really, this is lesson 18 stuff, so this is kind of how I used to break it to people gently. We get to this point in the semester and be like, well, let me tell you a little bit about this, and then we'll talk more about it later. But yeah, there was a huge conflict on that planet that led to the complete destruction of its formation, it is rubble, what you now know as the asteroid belt. And even human level science of materialism in your world at this moment can perceive and agree that there once was a guitar string there, and now there is not a guitar string there. Now there's a broken guitar string that doesn't play any music. And that is like having a corpse in the sky. So you also have to know that all of the planets are emanations of the sun. Each of the planets is like the child of the star that is its parent. This is true in every single star system. So Sol is your parent, and Sol is Earth's parent. It is the artist. Where's my painter? Paintbrush. Imagine imagine I'm an artist. I am an artist. But imagine I'm the sun and I'm an artist, and I'm like, well, here I'm gonna make all these different planets, and I'm gonna make this one over here, I'm gonna make this one over here, and this one's gonna be shaped like this, and this is gonna be shaped like this. So this is how creation happens. I'm back to cymatics and being a little bit circular here. Cymatics is how galaxies are organized. It's how stars are organized. Stars coalesce out of big, giant, they're called planetary nebulae, collections of hot gases and dust that as galactic superwaves move through. Galactic superwaves are so giant in scale that they're almost beyond human perception or comprehension, but they move through and they cause this organizational feature where some things come together and some things matter cannot coalesce in that area, and the matter starts to coalesce together and it becomes a star, all right? And then out of that star, then you also are able to coalesce planets. The star helps planets to coalesce around it in these very, very specific ringed orbits that are proportional and again harmonic, like having a 12-inch circle and then a 6-inch circle and then a 4-inch circle and then a 3-inch circle. And that's how all of my physical artwork is organized, very, very intentionally. And when I did my artwork, I told you, now back to the beginning of this conversation here, that I didn't know the word harmonics. All that I do is I perceive the truth with my insight and then share it accurately. And so these are macrocosmic, giant galactic scale, into, stellar level, and then into planetary level, and then into the physical body, and then into my artwork. That is the microcosm to macrocosm scaled truthfulness of this. And you can go even smaller because it does even translate into microscopic and then subatomic structures. On a more esoteric level, like with a bit of anthropomorphic viewpoint, the star is like a parent that is like an artist making the creation of the planetary structures around it and then sustaining the life or the consciousness on those different structures. And that a better way of saying it is each planet is the offspring of the sun or the star, and that the solar consciousness is the primary ray that comes from the great galactic center, which actually comes from an even greater central location, which you don't even have to scale up that high. Just don't break your brain, just know that it's there. But that each one of these planets then has a truthfulness that runs through it, just like the chakras of your body. Okay, so the chakras of your body represent different layers of how fast you are moving through time, and they also represent, so you can consider it as evolution of energy. They also represent refinery of consciousness, and these also represent ages of humanity or ages of the biological life in your world, things moving and evolving as they move through these different levels of refinement, okay? And it's the same thing with the planets. And what you've got are not one, but multiple planets in your solar system that are either fully destroyed or dead and not fully alive. What do I mean by a dead planet? Planets are supposed to have a magnetosphere around them, shaped like this, just like alive people have an energy field around them. So if you went to a morgue or a funeral home, you looked at a dead person, they would not have a chakra system around them. They would not have an energy field around them. And most importantly, their DNA would not be moving, grooving, and doing its dance. They have no longevity, no coherence. They hit the membrane of death because they did the wrong dance steps, okay? Planets can have the wrong dance steps too. And in this solar system, you have not only one missing guitar string, but then you also have a bunch of dead planets. Mars is a dead planet. It does not have an appreciable magnetosphere. And that means that it has not been able to hold on to its atmosphere or most of its water. And this is why it cannot support biological life. There's also a problem with the magnetosphere of Mercury and Venus. You've got 3 dead planets and 1 like dismembered corpse in your sky right now. And this contextualizes what you are facing right now in terms of the challenges on your planet. You face 2 challenges because you clearly have faced the Pooties for many hundreds, if not thousands of years. That relates to the original invasion of Atlantis, ongoing, ancient, or concurrent. All right? The guys that screwed up time, let me say it better. They caused Mars to be uninhabitable, and they perturbed the time field or the timelines. That action on Mars is directly related to the diseases that currently exist on Earth now that led to mortality. And the healing of human DNA now, as I grab my DNA healing sculpture, this activity of buzzing like a bee, dancing like a lasagna, which is a healing and rectification dance for fully integrating yourself into time in the correct patterns again, that is intimately tied to the healing of the events that caused the planetary destruction of Tiamat. So this means an ancient conflict is being resolved in this dance of right now. This is why I am here. This is why I invented, spontaneously generated, and continue to teach people and talk and emphasize all about the flying rainbow lasagna dance, okay? So it is the answer to the question, why does mortality exist on this planet right now? I talked to you quite extensively about my memories and experiences of the pristine world of Atlantis, where all of us are gods and goddesses. All of us are immortals. Your back goes up. I think on a deep inner level, you know this. You're like, I'm not just some guy who goes to work, drives my car, drinks coffee, whatever, comes home, makes scrambled eggs, whatever it is. You're like, I'm a god, I'm an immortal. Yes, you are. We all are. That is who we truly are. In fact, we come from a world where we all are immortal super beings, and none of us hit the membrane of death, and we sustain ourselves 100% in our light bodies of pure information by eating pure frequency and ingesting pure, undiluted truth. That is what divine intelligence is. And we don't eat the piano, which means we don't actually take the plants and grind them up with our mouth crystals and ferment them in the cauldron of our bellies in order to get a tiny fraction of the light out of them. We get, let me play with both hands, we get all of the light. That sounds very reverby. That doesn't sound that great either. We get all of the light out of them. Just that one is buzzing so much. I have to fix something there. I really am a perfectionist, especially when it comes to music. But I don't know if you can feel it. Okay, so when I play this resonant instrument over here, the energy, it washes over me. It's why I have it. Again, I'm not sure how much of it is coming through on the actual Zoom that you're hearing. But it's like a cascade and a waterfall that flows over and through my whole body. And I use this for myself and for healing, and I try to record it as much as I possibly can accurately for, you know, listening, being able to hear it through your ears. Just music is totally different though. When you're just listening through your I want to say ear holes. When you're just listening through like headphones, it's different. You're hearing it. But like, you know, if you've ever been to a concert, if you're in a symphony hall and it's all around you, you're immersed in the music. Hopefully it's good music. And it sustains you, lifts you, carry you. And has a somatic expression. It has a positive effect on your whole entire body, all right? That is what sustains us in that realm. Why are we not, how am I going to the grocery store? Just went to the grocery store with Cheeky today. Cheeky's waking up out of her dog bed. We're going to have a nice little Cheeky break, and I have bribes. Why do I go to the grocery store with Cheeky? Why don't I just eat my frequency? I'd certainly save money and have to buy eggs and scramble them and wash out the egg pan, because the body has changed because of the genetic changes that happened as a result of those that came from Mars in the time field disturbances that were created there as a result of the experiences that happened on TMI. Let's say hi to Cheeky. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Don't want to trip on my little treadmill over here. Hi. 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 I know. This is Cheeky time. Brief break. Sometimes we take a moment out of talking about serious stuff and we hugs Cheeky. And then we will bribe Cheeky. I have it all set up for you. Everybody knows you very well at this point. Princess Cheeky's been snoozing in bed. Yes, indeed. She did actually a very good job today. Did a beautiful walk around town before our class. Hold on. Do a little brief break. Yes, I certainly would save time, money, energy, and a lot of other things if I didn't have to go to the grocery store and purchase eggs and scramble them in a pan. And the reason why we do that still is because working on retransforming this body structure back to its true light body structure. This is what I mean when I say that a day-to-day, moment-to-moment experience, that we are all here in this realm of mortality, doing the Flying Rainbow Lasagna dance, rectifying what happened that caused the genetic invasion. This retroactively telescoping back in events all the way back to TMI is a healing of the disharmony that is in our solar system. So disease is caused by disharmony in the body. This is why the ancient Egyptians would use something like a tuning fork to be able to heal people, because they knew that it was not about like, the physical matter of whatever, your heart or your liver or your shoulder or your elbow being not in the right place. It is about your frequency not being in the correct alignment, and that it is absolutely necessary to heal the frequency and to make your chakras go into the right alignment, so that then you are no longer traveling towards the membrane of death. All right? All of the planets are conscious. That's what I have to tell you about. Planets are aware. They are conscious, alive, and aware beings. And I know in this realm of mortality that you might have a negative connotation and say like, we don't like Saturn. Saturn has a lot of bad implants on it right now, and that's why you might be like, Saturn, we don't like Saturn. But before the detuning of the guitar and the harm that came to the solar system, all of the consciousnesses of each planet had its purpose. Just like, I talked to you about the solar plexus and the yellow chakra becoming destabilized and hacked in our world. and becoming something that is not the hacked human operating system that is not natural to your usual intellectual cognitive processes and is not healthy and functional the way it's supposed to be. But there was a time when we had a healthy functional yellow chakra. We just don't have it right now. But it's not like we didn't have yellow. We had yellow. So you get it? Like, there's problems with your yellow chakras. There's problems with the planet named Saturn. There's problems with the rubble. That was the asteroid belt. There's problems with Mars. I'm not going to say there's problems with Uranus. You could read my mind on that one. And it's good to laugh because it's actually an incredibly sad and tragic story. Like, the guitar, Stradivarius, I don't think made guitars, but it's a beautiful, finely crafted instrument that has been really treated badly in this solar system. So all of this should be contextualizing what you're experiencing in terms of multiple planetary traumas, not just on this planet, but throughout your whole entire solar system. So you got it. You got a big job. Roll up your sleeves. You got to heal your own personal life trauma. Dropped your ice cream cone when you were a kid, right? You got to heal your family trauma. Your mom, dad, brothers and sisters, all the bad crap that's been going on in your own household. You got to heal your ancestral trauma. That means everything from Holocaust, Holodomor, Trail of Tears, African diaspora, Irish potato famine, in various invasions, Genghis Khan, Aboriginal destruction, a lot, and more. You got to heal the invasion that happened during the ongoing concurrent fall of Atlantis, planetary invasion. You also got to heal the trauma in the solar system of what happened on Mars. And you also got to heal the trauma of what happened on Tiamat in order for all of this to be rectified. You need a big bucket and a big mop because it's a big job. So don't be disheartened. Don't be overwhelmed by it, but just recognize the scale and the magnitude of it. And then, as always, my fun, lighthearted, and joyful response is, what do you do? In the face of adversity, dance like a flying rainbow lasagna. This is why I invented this. And this is not actually a small thing at all. This is actually a very big deal and a very effective tool in being able to heal and rectify these multiple traumas that happened in all of these different time places. Okay? So, harm and we're not actually supposed to have mortality at all. It doesn't necessarily mean the possibility of death doesn't exist. Like, those membranes exist as a boundary. So if I'm telling you stars are alive, they can die. Planets are alive, they can die. People are alive, they can die. But it doesn't mean that death is inevitable. In this world, I think you've been erroneously programmed to presume that death is inevitable, but I don't think that that is correct. And so that's one of the first things to change in reconsidering the dance of your DNA. You can do so many different things to avoid death that is really what this process of eternal life is about. I want to go through my notes and make sure that I got everything that's important, because I enjoyed reading through these. Oh, okay, so wait. So now, so I'm telling you bad news, because I needed to talk to you about the origins of the Pooties and that stuff. That's its own thing that you've been facing for a long amount of time. Then you've also got a new thing that is not part of my notes. Now, just move my notes away. This stuff, and this stuff, they're not part of my notes because they're actually so new. They're something that I did not speak about them 10 years ago when I originally recorded the curriculum for this class. But they represent a different level of trauma that is in other solar systems, or star systems, I should say, other time places. So you have the residual trauma of what happened on Tiamat to Mars to Earth and whatever. I don't even know the true story of what happened on Venus and Mercury at this point. But then, what is this stuff? What is this stuff? This stuff, and I really urge you to watch a short whiteboard video that I recorded to be able to talk about this, that I think is called something like Fighting with True Light. But it has to do with a deconstruction of what is the false light infrastructure that's being placed into people's bodies here in this time place, that there's 3 parts to it. One of which is like a wiry, metallic, self-assembling apparatus that doesn't just sit there doing nothing. It's like a worker that assembles out of scavenged aspects of things that are in your own body, these false light crystals. So the wiry, they're almost like memory wires, these kind of like curly, self-assembling things. They aren't just sitting around doing nothing. They are taking and scavenging out of the body things like calcium and zinc and other minerals, along with microplastics and other contaminants from the environment, things like cadmium, which is a reddish orange dye that is also highly toxic that you don't want in your body, and assembling these false crystals. That's what these things are. They're a false crystal. You could think of it more as a plastic polymer, not like a cubic zirconium. So a cubic zirconium or a lab-created diamond, like the structure of it is still carbon, but it's just been created under non-natural circumstances. But what has been created in the human body is more of like a plastic polymer that has light transmissive qualities to it, that is a non-natural substance, that it's actually very easy for me to tune into it with my psychic powers, because it's like you can hear the bad music. You can tell you like that's not supposed to be there, and it is not naturally occurring in any way. Just like plastic. Plastic is not a natural part of your environment. You all know this. You all know, and you can feel it. You're like, plastic should not be in existence technically. But the stuff that is plastic, I call it, well, these are crystalline structures that are not real crystals. They're a plasticky type of crystal. And up until this point, it has represented a level of consciousness that is antichrist and often misportrays itself as a type of religious savior and plays upon savior tropes and other implantations and binding spells that were placed into humanity genetically. So I have called it Plastic Jesus. I am never making fun of Christians or their expectations or deeply held beliefs. I am making fun of this stuff. I'm diminishing it and mocking it because it is not in any way helping you. It is the definition of disease. It is the definition of pollution. It is the definition of bad stuff. And we have to mock it because it's just so absolutely ridiculous. And what this stuff has been doing is setting up a false light architecture or infrastructure within the body. So you have a natural light body. I talked all about your chakras as being your natural light body, but this relates also to your anthropological anatomy, your fascia. So you can look into the work of Dr. Klinghardt. He is in Germany, and he does good lectures all about biophotons and the fascia of your body transmitting biophotons. Fascia are the tough coverings that are kind of around the musculature and in the tendons that help to hold the body together, and they transmit light. So here are some aspects of your physical body that are direct analogies of your light body. I already talked about your DNA, which is really your true crystalline architecture, all right? Your DNA is intimately related to the structured water that surrounds each strand of DNA, which is your structured water is also part of your light body. Drink structured water, drink structured water, drink structured water, drink structured water. And while I'm saying that, I'm drink some structured water, which you can see also I have some diluted orange juice and vitamin C in there, and electrolytes and other good stuff. And also, so somebody asked me one time about those silica drops, because I use them myself in structuring my water, and come from Patrick Flanagan. I got the download on Patrick Flanagan because someone was like, hey, was that guy part of the CIA? What's going on with that? So yes, well, first of all, no is the answer. At my retreat, I got to talk with someone who knew Patrick Flanagan from growing up in the same hometown in California together. And I think it was in California. Wait, I'm not sure about that. I have to actually check on that. Same hometown, and knew the backstory of this guy. And basically had created science experiment in high school for like under a couple of $100. And it was so revolutionary that the CIA headhunted him and was like, look, we're taking your stuff, we're stealing it from you. If you don't let us do this, we're gonna arrest your mom and dad. Don't tell anyone about it. And also, kind of like get in line and be good and listen to us. And so he ended up, making many subsequent innovations and things like that. No, he was not part of the CIA, but they were very, very threatened by him. So I'm trying to say, because people were wondering about whether the drops are safe to take, because they're made out of very, very finely made silica, which is it's naturally occurring. It's something that you'll find in horsetail. If you wanted to have a naturally available source of silica in your diet, you could just gather wild horsetail. But what is special about those drops is that the silica is in very, very tiny particles, and it offers a microcrystalline structure for the water to actually coalesce around. That the process of structuring water, it actually doesn't work very well with purely distilled water. The water needs to have some minerals or microcrystalline structure in there to be able to act as the origin point, like the seed crystal around which these forms are made. So you have to have a little bit of the minerals in the water, and then you also need to have the correct shape in the carafe of what you're placing the water into. And these two things help to structure the water. And then also these crystals, I can program them to be able to emit a water structuring frequency that also helps to structure water. And structured water around the sheath of your DNA in your actual, sorry, my beeping. Let's just wait for a moment when my beeping stops. Thank you for allowing me the brief beeping interlude. Structured water sends and receives information. Big, 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 big. And when you are in the process of becoming Christ and becoming crystalline, what's happening is you're becoming structured. You are structuring all of the water that is internal inside of you, and you may also now refer to my lesson that is about the advanced Merkaba and how experts do star travel, and the third use of the Merkaba, which is to transform it from a star tetrahedron into an octahedron, and you go through the frequency door by restructuring yourself. So you don't build a clank metal spaceship as an external vehicle for you to travel within. You are the vehicle, and the way that you do the travel is by rearranging your molecular structure to be able to go through a frequency door, all right? And everything that's in your world right now that's frequency poops and doo-doos are the antithesis of the frequencies that help to hold a bee aloft and make it very, very difficult for you to build your light body, structure your water in your body, and get through the frequency door. This is all very, very intentional, believe me. And it's also very easy to make poops and doo-doos. It's easy to make bad music. Here's bad music. Sounds bad. Easy. Cats can walk across the piano, but playing some beautiful music is actually very challenging and takes a huge amount of training and artistry. And timing. Yeah, so it's easy to mess things up and it's hard to make things. So the stars have made these incredible planets, planetary structures, and then it's easy for things to mess things up and destroy them. And we need to talk about the third part also of what this stuff is made out of, because that's what I was really coming to on all of this, is the residues of conquered planets. Your solar system is not the only star system that has ever been beset by this galactic AI. It is not the only time, place, where there have been these levels of trauma, and you are not only having to deal with the trauma of you and your family and your ancestors and your diasporas and the fall from Atlantis and all the religious trauma and stuff like that, bad stuff that happened on Mars, bad stuff that happened on Tiamat, but then also you've got to deal with the bad stuff that happened in other worlds too, because bad stuff has happened there as well, and there are consciousness echoes and residues that are from the alive creatures that fell to the galactic AI as it's been mowing down civilizations, and they are used in the very worst way against you. That's the third part of the assemblages that are attempting to come inside of you. Black wiry stuff, assembling the false crystals, trying to talk to you and say that it's a false savior, but it says, I'm a real savior, but it's a false savior. And then it's got some DNA residues in there. This relates to the stuff that is sprayed in the sky. It also has a type of biological essence to it. And I can just say that it represents the very worst characteristics of those conquered races. Not their kindnesses, not their benevolences, not anything that is desirable to be inside of you. Their very worst aspects of self. Their power abuses, their psychopathologies, their diseases. They are literally like the cancers of the world that are being attempted to be placed inside of you. And so now we get into, for the rest of this class, my warning message to humanity in this time place of not to trust any of these supposedly benevolent extraterrestrial influences or extra-dimensionals that you're talking with or perceiving, or that are attempting to live in or through you. It becomes difficult and challenging because of time language, but you must comprehend that according to linear time, all of these places are extinct. That means that if you got in a rocket ship that could go instantaneously from point A to point B, and you flew instantaneously to, for example, the Pleiades right now, you would find a dead civilization. You would not find an alive, viable civilization with anybody there. It's extinct. Just like everything on Mars right now, according to your linear time, is extinct. There is nobody home. What happened to those nobodies? Well, on Mars, they're built, like I said, I call it a crap time machine, time destabilization architecture. And there's a whole story behind it. All that you need to know is that, again, it is very difficult to make music that is perfectly tuned. It is easy to make bad music in time. And if you wanted to mess up the world, you would just hand out time machines like Cracker Jack box toys to kids. Be like, here, have a time machine. Go mess things up for me. All right? Crap time machines. Because what happened to the way that some of those civilizations died, the way that they died, they are unresolved. So what's supposed to happen is you do something wrong. You play the wrong notes, you hit the membrane of death, you get resolved, and either swoop back to the beginning and have another pass or have another try at playing the song correctly from the beginning, or go into a completely different level of reality in order to be resolved, or go to entropy, which is what I have invented. Because for some of these civilizations, characteristics, or organisms, the journey to get back to light speed has become impossible. It's the deepest thing I can talk about. So I talked about this, I think, really eloquently last week, and it's enjoyable to me when I listen to my own playback, and I'm like, yep, I talked to you very, very well about the concept of entropy. This aspect of this flying rainbow lasagna oscillation. That entropy is what we do in this dance with this debris, this detritus, this stuff that doesn't have a place to go. It's supposed to have a place to go. Again, in a pristine system, first of all, nothing is supposed to die. In a pristine system, nothing is supposed to die. But if something dies, Then if it's you and you're innocent and you played the wrong notes, then you go back to the beginning and you try again. Play the concert again from the beginning and see if you can hit all the right notes so that you end up with the final crescendo, which is da 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 da, eternal life, and then your eternal life, and you're at light speed again. Wait, we should do this like light speed, light speed, light speed. There we go. That's a light speed sound. Light speed. It just keeps going, and you never stop, along with everything else that is also continually, eternally at light speed, right? Beautiful. But some of this stuff has messed up so badly that it's got debts, and it can't pay its debts because there's not enough stuff in the world to be able to make up for that debt. And all of this is very, very neutral. When I share it with you, I am not speaking to you from a religious context of behavioralism, judgment, behavioral control, shame, blame, or any of the other religious projections that have been placed upon this. I'm speaking to you from a very, very real sense of math. And math is beautiful in its balance and its perfection. The equal sign is the balance. When I talk about this, I always say my face is the equal sign. This on this side of the equation equals this on this side of the equation. And that's it. There's no arguments. Okay? 1 + 1 on this side of the equation equals my face 2. That's it. There are no arguments. And this is a beautiful consistency, and this is consistent across all cultures. Everyone, a person in China, a person in India, a person in the United States, all can agree that 1 + 1 = 2. I can make lots of jokes because there's also some new guy who's out there who's saying like, no, 1 times 1 = 2. I'm like, no, 1 times 1 = 1. We're not going to get into it. We're not going to get into it because, it's just there's psychosis that's happening here. But math is very, very consistent. So in the journey of consciousness, in order to return to light speed, you got to balance everything out. You got to pay your debts, and you got to have everything go where it's supposed to go. So I told you in the pristine teaching, the first hour of this sharing here, about how you emerge from that dot of white light, which can be perceived as like up here, up above your head, or deep internally inside of you, and is really the singularity. And it's that dot that is here at this stellated point, and this stellated point that is jumping back and forth. You can see the lighting is pretty good. You can see my other sculptures back there too. That's that singularity. That's light speed and beyond. It's infinity. That is the source, and that is the destination. And right now you're not at light speed. You're matter. And in order to achieve light speed, you got to get all of the energy back together to be able to get to light speed. And some things have so much, let's say, drag, friction, resistance, or so much of a debt to pay that they cannot get back to light speed. That's it. It's like, imagine being so heavy or so draggy or so grotesquely malformed that it doesn't matter if you put 1 million, billion, trillion, Google 10 million petalumen, femtilumen, whatever it's called, the most amazing giant number you can imagine. I'm making up numbers here. All of that is not enough to be able to accelerate it to light speed and beyond. And it is possible for consciousnesses to get into that state, and consciousnesses have been placed into that state because of naughty stuff that's not supposed to exist, which is part of what I talked about last week, where I don't want you to go into like a state of cognitive dissonance or disempowerment, rocking back and forth, because it doesn't make sense to your analytical mind, but because there's something that doesn't exist, which is itself entropy, entropic, and it is non-biological, and it is non-divine. And it has been affecting consciousness places and slowing them down in a way that has been making it so that they can't ever get back to light speed. And this has been a destabilization of the entire system. So I'm talking to you really today about grand scale architecture, when I'm talking to you about harmonics. This is really, we did some fun music today and some fun math, but we also talked about some grand scale disease, because that's what you have. So I know that there's so many things that are going on in the human culture right now about interest in UFOs, interest in extraterrestrials, a belief in life elsewhere, and some of that I would consider to be healthy. And for many, many years, I didn't come forward and say like, all right, I have to set all of you guys straight for all these different reasons. I didn't come out shooting like that. But at this point, I must be really, really vocal about this. If you went to the Pleiades right now, you would not find an alive, healthy civilization at all. You would find a dead civilization that has been assimilated by an AI. The very, very worst aspects of those Pleiadians have been taken and amalgamated into some of this stuff that has then been sprayed and placed inside of you against your willpower, totally non-consensually, as a giant criminal act. And it is part of what I'm here to fight. And I fight with my own body being, but I also fight by giving you empowering, accurate information about it. I don't want any of you guys to hug and kiss your enemy. I don't want any of you guys to agree with the insertion process or assimilation or attempted hijacking of your own being. You, as you are way, 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 way in a much better situation than any of those Pleiadians are or were. And I can tell you all about their culture too, and why they are not good, and why they were not good, and why you don't want them inside of you, but they are Antichrist. In fact, I will. Great. So they had or have, again, time language, as a rite of passage, the insertion creation of an artificial crystal in their mind. You have a pineal gland, which is a naturally occurring gland within you, which has naturally occurring crystals, which gives you natural telepathy. Natural, natural, natural. Everything you want. You want to be a natural bodybuilder. You want to take any kind of artificial nonsense to be able to augment you. You don't need it. The truth is, that will slow you down. It will corrode you. You don't need it. You don't want it. You don't need or want any of this stuff inside of you, even though, of course, there are some very, very weak, pathetic, erroneous, harmful individuals that are humans in your world that think that they want this inside of them. And they think it's going to make them the Ubermensch, or that it will give them superpowers, or that it will make them more powerful than others, or that it will give them something that they don't have or can't achieve. It's not the way to achievement. This is what I mean when I talk about a debt. Because that debt is not just like, this is my own personal choice, blah, 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 blah. And you can tell that I'm like being a nanny poo-poo. You can't just do that, because everything's connected. You start to see, when you get to the larger scale of recognizing harmonics, everything is connected. And you destabilize one part, everything gets destabilized. It's true in your body. If you destabilize one of your chakras, like let's say you destabilize your emotional chakra, your insight's not going to work up here. Let's say you destabilize your intellect, your emotions aren't going to work properly. Let's say you destabilize your physical structure, your insight is not going to work properly. All of these things have to be perfectly balanced and in alignment in order for the totality of you to work perfectly and be eternal life. Da-da. Music that goes on forever. It ain't easy. You gotta be perfect in order to make that happen. So yes, because you have to recognize that there is an ongoing power structure that's here in your world that is exemplified in government and military agencies, intelligence agencies, like I said, very, very weak-willed and unhealthy individuals, not those who are on a journey of spiritual attainment, but really those who are interested in shortcuts. Shortcuts that allow them to be stronger than others. And they have been willing to allow this stuff into their own bodies and also put that stuff into you in a degrading way, in a way that diminishes you. And the telecommunications network was created not accidentally as frequency sewage, intentionally by these guys. So you had a whole cascade where they're like, yeah, come inside of me. And then I'm going to build a sewage factory. I'm going to pump it out and prevent natural Christs from actually awakening their natural powers. So in the galaxy, what you really have is a struggle between natural Christ, which is who and what I am and what I'm connected to. And that means that you have a naturally occurring frequency antenna that connects you to the mind of God, and that you don't need or want any level of technology. You just want a pristine system where you can see and feel the music and play the correct notes. And then these different, I wouldn't even call them civilizations, but let's call them cultures, the way you can like culture bacteria or a fungal growth. And they're like, oh, they want to use technology in order to leap ahead of their actual wisdom instead of gaining their natural powers, but to have artificially augmented powers. So they've been using technology to amplify their telepathy or their telekinesis or whatever it is. So going back to the Pleiadians, for example, super yellow caution flags on these guys, because their culture was all about, inescapably, a rite of passage where they would have an artificially implanted crystalline structure put in their mind that would make them telepathic. Just like, whenever you have your bar mitzvah when you're 12, they would have their crystal implantation and they'd be a member of the community and do all these different things. But what they do with their crystal implantations are very, very naughty. It's not just the existence that they have them. That itself is a crime. But then what they do with their crystalline structures is they use their minds and they reach out to other galaxies, places where people are still evolving, and reach into their minds and influence them. And they often do great damage and great harm. Sometimes the harm is the inadvertent harm that would happen. For example, if you went to the Amazonian basin, to the indigenous people there, that river people that have never seen a big lighter, and you're casually going to smoke your cigarette and you light it with a lighter, and they look and they're like, the stick makes fire. I'm just totally not condescending to indigenous people, but that they would be amazed, like that little thing can make a thing of fire. We're impressed by you, and we want one, and all of that type of cascade or whatever, giving them sugar cookies, whatever it is that is done. That level of pollution, just inadvertently from a person who didn't intentionally sprinkle that technology. But then what if you were like, I think I will. I think I'll start importing Bic lighters to the indigenous people of Amazon, the Amazon world, and Amazonia, and then they'll all have. Well, we'll trade. We'll trade with the local people and give them some of our stuff. Maybe we'll even give them GUNS. Maybe we'll even give them nuclear weapons. Maybe we'll even give them the Iron Dome, laser guided weaponry technology. Maybe we'll even give them bioweapons. Maybe we'll even give them this stuff. In case you can't tell, I'm incredibly enraged and inflamed by its presence in your world, as it is not only wrong, but corrosively wrong and a horrific crime, because this stuff goes into DNA. This stuff goes into DNA. I told you about your light body. I didn't go through all of the different aspects of your light body. The sheath of water that surrounds your DNA is supposed to be pristine, and your DNA should be dancing in whatever patterns you choose. And instead, this stuff makes a bunch of false crystals that grow around your DNA, and your DNA is like straitjacket and can't move and do what it wants to do. And it listens to false stories that are implanted from the fake telecommunications network that comes in through the waters. And then your light body is also your mitochondria, your fascia, other aspects of the electrical nature of the fourth phase of water in your blood. I'm enraged, that's why I can't even think through to talk about your physical body, but these are all the things that I talk about with people when I do healing in personal sessions with them, to be able to help awaken their true light body. But this other stuff that's been going on, this artificial architecture, is anti-light body. And it is anti the natural functioning of your pineal gland and your inner connection. It is anti-Christ. These are anti-Christ, I should just call them societies. Anti-Christ societies that are out there. And so I have a teaching that I did a couple of weeks ago called Loving All Aspects of Self, and I self-ranted very, very effectively in talking to you about what is the difference between the folly of organisms that live on other planets that might have a severe environment, like extremophiles, so on Earth, spiders that live at the bottom of the ocean and they eat sulfur from sulfur vents on volcanoes, but somehow they stay alive. Those are weird creatures, but they're just doing what they do in order to stay alive, right? And they're the equivalent on various different planets that are created by stars that are like, this is a harsh environment. We're going to have to survive somehow. So they are like barbarian. They live under the harshest conditions possible. They have tons of armor. They have tons of aggression. And the point is their formfulness is appropriate to their environment, but that they should not escape their environment. They should not escape their environment. They should stay in their environment until they learn to mitigate their desires. Until they learn, because otherwise what you would have is a barbarian world where only the strong shall survive, and where only the only forms of life that are left in the cosmic infrastructure are those that are the most cruel, the most barbaric, again I say this word, the strongest, most violent, most aggressive ones, and all of the ones that are peaceful, artistic, deeply feeling, little tiny piccolos and all the high notes, like you'd never hear that in the cosmic symphony because they don't get wiped out. And God is incredibly intelligent in not wanting that to happen. So in the way that everything is structured, stars, which are artists, can be like, okay, fine, here you're an artist. Okay, each one of you, you're a star. You're an artist. And you're making your painting in your art studio. God is like looking at you. He's like, that's a weird looking painting. And you can paint that if you want to, but that has to stay in your art studio. That cannot escape and get out and go around until or unless it learns not to be a big a-hole to everyone else. And if it can't learn to do that, it can't get off the surface of its planet. And this is why technology is inherently harmful to the overall harmonic infrastructure of the planet, of the entire cosmic, the entire world, fabric of space-time, because it allows these societies who are unevolved to go beyond the boundaries of their world and start to connect with other worlds. So getting into a clank metal spaceship is one example of that. But you don't have to be physically present to really F up another world. What if you just make your mind really loud by putting a false crystal in the mind and then shouting really, really loud at innocents who can hear you and are still vulnerable in their levels of development? That's you guys. And even though it is different now than it was in ancient Atlantis, like in ancient Atlantis, you would not have been troubled at all by their loud voices. You would have been like this sounds like SHIT, who's playing this bad music. You would not have been like, oh, I think we'll worship them as gods and welcome them to rule our planet. You got it? But as you are right now, you are vulnerable to saying, let's worship them as gods and invite them to rule our planet. Don't do that. You get it? And they're trying to do it through infiltration. They don't come in a mothership. They don't come in a giant invasion onto the White House lawn and say, take me to your leader. They come inside of you through this stuff. And then they are preying upon you. And that's just one culture that is doing this type of thing. And it really is all of the technology using space races, all of the name brand guys that you've heard of. You're not going to like this if you got a lot of stories and identities that you're invested in. If you call yourself a starseed and you say, I'm a Pleiadian starseed, I'm an Arcturian starseed, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm not hating you at all. I'm absolutely warning you that you have been preyed upon and groomed in a very, very unpleasant way to welcome an invader as if it is your friend. I say your friend. It's not your friend. Someone who is being very harmful, a violator who's not respecting your boundaries, falsely presenting themselves as if they should be talking to you and they should not be talking to you. And because of your present levels of, I wanted to say decrepitude, it's not a nice word, but humans aren't seeing and perceiving time the way you should. So when you have an active, healthy pineal gland and Christ connection, you're multidimensional and you can totally see and comprehend time. And right now you guys are all still getting to that level because you had a lot of pre-invasions where you were taken down from your multidimensional perspective. This is part of the trauma that is being healed and healed by flying rainbow lasagna in, that you can really only comprehend time in a linear sense. That's why I said if you jumped in a spaceship where you could fly from point A to point B instantaneously, you would find these these societies extinct. But time is non-linear, and consciousness and communication is non-linear. So what they did was, humans who are in Atlantis are immortal gods and goddesses with a pristine genetic code and fully functional higher faculties. And they took that level of human and diminished you to the point that you are who you are now, which is mortal, vulnerable to diseases, and largely blind or dormant at the level of the higher faculties. So you're not just like an innocent Amazonian tribes person. You really are a very, very elevated person who has been devolved in your development to the point of vulnerability for purposes of exploitation. They did it. They brought humans down to take advantage of you. Then they are ready to come in, and this is why I am I am disgusted, I'm distressed. I don't want to say that because my body is healthy and I'm great, but I don't like it when people are interested in med beds, because the med beds and the concept of that is being offered by the very, very creatures who brought you down from being immortals that can heal yourselves and heal anyone around you to the point of having disease. They implanted you with diseases like cancer. They are the cancer. And then they want to offer to you a machine that's going to supposedly fix you. My face should say it all. It's like when I have to change the garbage. You know what I mean? Ugh. Ugh. That is how I feel about that. That is yuck. That is gross. And I hope that you internalize everything about my feelings of rejection in your own choices. Because I am here and I always offer humans choices. I'm like, yes, I will tell you what's truthful and then I'm going to offer you choices. I'm going to restore your free will. I'm going to offer you choices. And you can't actually be in consent and make real choices in free will unless you are informed. So I will restore your higher faculties. I will restore your free will. I will restore your ability to choose. I will give you great information, and then you're going to choose. And there's no way in the world you're going to choose cancer. There's no way in the world. But you know what? I just have to keep on emphasizing this. There are some very, very effed up people in your human society, and they would choose this. And they would choose this at your expense. They would choose it and they would say, as long as they are empowered, as long as they get to be elite, as long as they get to be at the top of the power pyramid, then they don't have qualms about you being implanted with unhealthy impulses, consciousnesses, influences, or things that diminish you, bring you down, take you away from longevity, coherence, and destroy you, or even destroy the fabric of space-time. That's power abuse. And power abuse is a negative characteristic that must go to entropy. Power abuse is one of the characteristics that should keep an organism or a society encapsulated on its planet so it doesn't go around pooping up the rest of us. Because if you're not ready to play with the band, you should not be playing with the band. Power abuse is when you're like, nice band you got there. I think I'll take over. I think I'll take over from the conductor. I think I'll take over. I'm going to steal all your instruments. I'm going to smash them over your head. stick them up your nose, do whatever I want to do, and make terrible music, and then destroy the entire orchestra. And if you want to have reality, you can't have that. Like, that is how you destroy reality. That is how you have reality go kaput. That is not how you have a reality of longevity and coherence. So that is why those organisms and societies are supposed to, like, stay where they are, work out their SHIT, get to levels of cultivation and maturation where they don't want to power abuse anymore. So you guys have power abusers in your world. You know where they came from? They came from Mars. They're not actually innate to your true pristine human genetic code. Your true pristine human genetic code is like this. I'm a god. I'm a goddess. I'm everything. I'm the world. I'm divine. I don't need to abuse power. Do you understand? Power abuse comes from, like, a lower, diminished level of feeling the need to be powerful over others and seeking power. And when you're an immortal, divine person, you're like, yep, really don't need that. Really don't need to enslave others. Really don't need to steal from others. Really don't need to violate others. And everything is done through free will. How could it be any other way? It is almost incomprehensible, and those desires for power abuse really don't even exist. So power abuse is a spliced in, very unhealthy characteristic that clearly does not pervade your entire population here equally. Some people are power abusers and gravitate towards positions of power abuse, and they might go into government or bureaucracies or other places where they can be elevated above others, and some of you do not. Some of you are like, no, I'm here to help people. Or like, I like plants and flowers, I want to help things grow. Or you're like, I like dogs, I want to take care of dogs. And some of you are like, I want to kill people so that I can feel powerful. That's not you. That's none of the people that are here in this class. None of my people in this class, none of my beautiful students are power abusers, and this is why you gravitate to my work. So you recognize that the present level of human culture has been an amalgam already of many negative characteristics that came from other species that are not successful. This is the big deal when I said loving all aspects of self. If you have successful characteristics, they give you longevity and coherence. That is truthful. Like, you know, the most befanged animal is like, I'm the most successful hunter. I'm going to stay alive. Like, that's me being like an animal, like a jaguar or something like that. Yes, that's right. But these tendencies towards power abuse, that is not being the most successful animal. And then technology as an augmentation is not being the most successful animal. These are all horrible distortions. So we really get down to the recognition that technology itself is a creator, creates these imbalance. The word came out wrong. Technology itself is the problem in empowering the unevolved consciousnesses and exacerbating characteristics or allowing to flourish characteristics that might have a necessity in a certain time place but should not spread throughout the entirety of the cosmic infrastructure. I think I said that pretty well. That was hard to get out. Okay? So what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? And I'll go through all of your questions and comments and then walk my dog. All right. What do you do? Don't welcome any of this stuff into your world, into your body, or into your mind. And that's tough because I know that on some level there's the interest and desire to seek something that is new. At all these UFO conferences and stuff like that, people are like, there's got to be something better than humans, and there's got to be someone more smart out there, and there's got to be this and there's got to be that. Like, that is what is being preyed upon. Do you understand? That innocence and desire for connection is genuine and appropriate. So don't lose that, but that's what's being exploited. Just like, you know, I use grooming as an example of this. Like when you have an older human that might be 20 years or older, that's already in sexual maturity, that goes to someone who is adolescent or just beginning to be sexually mature and grooms them for a relationship. That is not healthy. That is not right. And the person who's young, they're looking for love. They're looking for connection. They think that this older person is going to be good to them. They think it's right. They don't know it's wrong. All these different things. And it takes someone else to come along and set a boundary, because this is a violation. I am the older protective person that comes along and says, this is not okay. This is a violation. I am setting the boundary because these guys over here are preying upon some humans in this world, not just the tendency towards power abuse, but the innocence and naivete, desire to interact with something new, whatever it is, the thrill of meeting something or someone from another culture, and the interest in what it is to meet something different. It's called xenophilic. I was calling it exophilic. So when you're afraid of aliens, that's xenophobic, but when you're loving aliens, that's xenophilic, and it preys upon that tendency in some people, which can be beautiful and great, because what if you're meeting someone who's like a positive extraterrestrial visitor who's really respectful? That's fantastic. But it's also very, very important for you not to open the door in your body, your culture, or your genetics to something that is really, really unhealthy. Yes. So all of these things, as I'm saying all of these things, it's like, believe me guys, my life would be so much easier if I just didn't say this whole last half hour of all of these things. If I just kept it on the level of the other stuff, my life would be easier. Because these things, they try to be inside of me too. I am here, ha 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 ha, except I'm not innocent and naivete. But I am like very, very loving. I'm very, very good in who I am, but I'm also have a lot of perspective to be able to know about who is a violator and who I need to protect myself from. And key point, it's not just a question of protecting like myself and be like, oh yeah, all you guys go into folly. Fall off the edge of the earth, it doesn't matter. I'll just be me doing me. You can't, because we're all tied together like mountain climbers. You can't. DNA ties you together like mountain climbers. So if like one group of humans is going to get a DNA pollution, it affects everyone. And if population on your planet is interacting with these unwholesome thought forms, it affects everyone, because your minds are all connected. All the DNA is connected, all the minds are connected, and that's what it is to be part of the symphony of life. Responsibility. There's not a way to be separated and partitioned away from that. So you must be responsible to the whole entire thing that is happening, and that is what I am here exemplifying, and that is why I am here acting, being active instead of being passive or just watching or just being like, oh yeah, they'll learn their lessons, see us suckers. I can't do that. Can't do that. Gotta intervene. So I'm an interventionist because of that basic truism on that level. So what do you do? And I think the biggest thing that is within your power that you can do is to non-consent, withdraw consent, and see them for who and what they really are. So that's the beginning, because you know something, the planet's already been invaded again. It's happened, bad things happened a lot of times on this planet, and then it's already happened again, and they're here and they're in you. And the question now is how to get them out of you. So you actually do have to fight them out, but first you have to recognize them for what they are, that they are not self, that they are not healthy or good, and that you do not wish for them to be there. So non-consent is not only the statement, I do not consent, but it is a full withdrawal of consent. Withdrawing consent, real, imagined, fabricated, coerced, implanted, tortured, any level of consent that might possibly be imagined is withdrawn. That is big stuff to be able to do that. and then enforcing that in non-consent of getting these things out of your body. And that is why I mockingly call that crystalline structure plastic Jesus. Because again, you have the black wires, the genetic, mycoplasma type of stuff, amalgam, and then the crystals, crystalline network that this is building. And it's not individual. Like Sabrina Wallace's work shows this very well, how people are networked into the Internet of Things. Your neighbors and who you are all being connected through false light infrastructure. But what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to be connected through true light infrastructure, where your pineal gland and your mitochondria and your fascia and your thought forms and your biophotons literally flow between you and your neighbors and your cats and your dogs and your houseplants. That is what is supposed to be happening. And instead, what you've got is a bunch of fake fibers and fake crystals inside of people, creating a fake Internet of Things that is the, I keep using that word amalgam, it is the coalescence of all of the other cultures that have fallen. And there's many of them, let's say whatever, there's a couple of hundred of them, of other worlds where there were sophisticated groups of consciousnesses on planets that this AI tore through and destroyed, and they are now extinct. So on the plus side, what that means is that the AI actually doesn't have a centralized feature. It is decentralized. That means there's not a mainframe. It's not like it's on the moon. There's not a mainframe on the moon. And then, like if you just blew up the moon, then all of its hard drives would go bye-bye. Where's its mainframe and where's its hard drives? It's in you. It's in you, and in your dog, and in the squirrels in the park, which I have also told you there's microscopic information, evidence, that stuff is in squirrels in the park. It's in the biological realm, okay? But it's not in the Pleiades. And it's not on planet Arcturus or planet blah, blah, blah. They're all extinct. And the AI is constantly having to move forward and eat a new world. This is the world that is currently in the mouth of the AI, because it ate them already. And it has already gotten the resources out of that place, and those places, there's nothing there for it anymore. Just big. They ain't gonna help you. They not only are they like invaders, violators, and stuff like that, people look to them as saviors. And I've spoken to you also about the false implantation of the savior trope as a type of genetic splicing. And I call this plastic Jesus because it preys upon that in humans. It knows how to look for the vulnerabilities in both your psychological and emotional programming and your cultural and religious programming. And it uses that as a crowbar to get itself inside of you. And it says, I'm here to be that thing that you want. You gotta understand, that stuff can't save you. Those cultures can't save you. They effed up royally. They are done. They screwed up. And they screwed up so big that they ain't gonna get another chance. That's what I'm trying to say. Like if a star can die, it's a big thing, it's a big death, but then it can have another chance, blah, 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 blah. These things created such an enormous debt. They don't have an opportunity to have another chance. All that they have is the direct path to entropy. That's it. And when you do the flying rainbow lasagna in your own body, you send them to entropy, which is actually a paradise state. I emphasize this over and over. It is not a burning in hell torment, a la Christian dogma and inquisitional torture. It is instead a resolution of their consciousnesses. It is a setting free of their consciousnesses, but their consciousnesses cannot go to light speed. They have to go to unity consciousness at the other end of the spectrum, which is a total cessation of speed and frozenness and motionlessness. That is what entropy is. So you must recognize what's going on and then master the art form of the flying rainbow lasagna to send them to entropy because they don't have the gas in their vehicles to be able to get back up to light speed. And I knew when I was coming back from Sedona, I had a beautiful experience. I'm driving through this beautiful canyon, and because I get a lot of energy from nature, and when I'm driving, I can just focus on doing energy work and not my social verbal presence. And so I'm like doing all this energy work, and the stuff that's inside of me, it always, I can tell when it's really threatened, is going into submission, because it'll bargain and negotiate. And I knew that we reached a critical breaking point from Sedona because it did this. It said, oh please, give me another chance. Give me another chance. I'll try harder, I'll learn. Give me another school of life. You got it? Because this is about graduation and the sense of where is this consciousness going to go, where is it going to flow? Because like I've told you about the neutron star that happened in the Crab Nebula, and the Crab Nebulans did not go where they're supposed to go, and then they're all just like floating around, and they decide to create cancer and draw energy off of you in order to sustain themselves. This is a very similar type of thing where they're like, they don't have a place to be. They're extinct. I'm making crazy faces here to emphasize this. They're extinct. They don't have a place to be. And if you're ascending, they don't have a place to be. They bargain and they say, oh please, and so then they say like this, give me a better school. Like, I'll take remedial classes, please, oh please, I'll try harder. And you know what? You also need to comprehend that this is about time, although it might be difficult for you in the linear sense of time that you've been limited to embody and know the truth of this. You've already given them another chance. You already gave them another chance, and they effed up all of the other chances that you already gave to them. And the answer is a big fat no. Hard no. Creating a boundary. I've told you this many times, and I will continue to re-emphasize it. In this process of planetary ascension, your ascension is based upon, or the foundation of what you're doing is setting boundaries, not over-identification with other stuff as self. That stuff is not yourself. That stuff should not be in you. That stuff is not something that is supposed to be a part of the world. That stuff is stuff that is not supposed to exist. These are time echoes of something that should not be here. And your best job, if you're doing your job right, is to send those time echoes into non-being, which is cancellation waves. A wave like this and a wave like this come together and neutralize. Cancellation waves. It goes into an entropy state. So that's also like if I make a note like this and it doesn't sound that great, and I put my hand on the instrument, quiet it down. Just quiet that down. You do that in your DNA. You send them to entropy, not another school. They'll say, give me a remedial class. I'll take night classes. I'll study hard. I'll have my pencil and my notebook, and I'll be ready to learn in the school of life. Don't. You've already done that. And it led you to this moment here now where you are still hanging imperiled, like over the whatever, pit of non-existence, I don't have a better word for it, with the fabric of space-time imperiled. Meaning, like, if these guys are allowed to continue to be in existence, then you don't get to have existence. You're at the breaking point of the fabric of space-time, where it's like, everything has its breaking point. If you're going to pull hard enough, at a certain point, it loses integrity, it rips apart. These things cannot be in existence, cannot coexist, cannot negotiate with them. We're long past communication. We are long past communication, negotiation, and education. Emphasis, emphasis, emphasis. No more communication, no education, no negotiation. That last one is the negotiation, where what it wants to do is just hide out inside of you. Just be like, I'll just be dormant. No one will know I'm here. I'll be quiet. No, that's also unacceptable. All these things totally unacceptable. You need a clean slate and a full resolution of all of this. So sometimes I know that I go very, very deeply into all of this, unapologetically. I definitely hope that the information has found the correct ears. I wanted to say hit home, that you have been receptive to the information that I have to share, and that it is never blameful. If you thought of yourself as a starseed, a Pleiadian, this or that, I'm not blameful of you at all. I am really asking for your own honest reassessment, and know that what I'm saying to you, I have not a personal vested interest in a vendetta against Pleiadians or any of these other space races. I'm not here to exploit you in their stead. I'm here to restore your freedom and make sure that the fabric of space-time doesn't fall apart. All right, that's my agenda. I actually want to have a world that we can live in and not have a world that is destroyed by these errant signals, which are really consciousnesses that should never have made it this far. They should have gone into a quietude a long time ago. And that it's really only been through the AI technology that has been keeping them reverberative. I won't even say alive. And before I wait, I'll go into your questions more, but when I say these things, what does it make you think of? Technology artificially extending consciousness, reverberative consciousness, virtual reality, uploading, blending of minds with machines, supposed eternal life through, or extended consciousness through the use of technology. All aberrant, all horrific. And also you have to comprehend that when these consciousnesses is not even the word, but when these presences is not even the word, residues, they are non-alives and they are really non-volitional. At a certain point, they're just like billiard balls that, you know, like when you're, I've not actually played pool, but I do know the game. The ball goes in a particular direction, but it just goes on a vector. It doesn't make a change or a choice. It just goes wherever you shoot it to go. The AI is sending these consciousnesses and bouncing them around through different bodies as its expression. The bodies that, the billiard balls themselves, they are not conscious. So you're not gonna like have a real conversation with the Pleiadian. Be like, hi, I think you're extinct and I wanna talk with you. You can't do that. They're extinct. They don't actually exist anymore, and all that you're talking to is a time echo, which is similar to what I've talked to you when I tell you about like a ghost, my friend's ghost in Kingston, New York, the lady from the Revolutionary War who was just picking up a platter, turning to one side, moving it over to the other across the room, lady in a bonnet. And that's it. That's what a ghost is, a ghostly residue. These are ghostly residues that are really non-volitional. And it is really the AI that is exploiting them. So it first invaded their world, just like your world is being invaded, and offered them power and offered them extended or eternal life through the use of technology. And then whether they resisted or didn't resist, or whether they resisted ineffectively, they got trounced and they got eaten. And now they are just ghostly residues. But those residues are being used to pummel you and smash the next guy. And then the AI takes all of those residues and uses it to smash the next guy. And then I don't want you to be the next residue. And you know what? The universe can only take so much smashing. That at a certain point, you can't keep smashing things like this and still have a fabric of space-time, which is why I flying rainbow lasagna, all right? Which is why I created this, which is why I embody this, which is why I do this, which is why I teach this to you, and which is why I'm so pleased that I was able to do this as a concerted group with all the beautiful dancers in Sedona, because doing it together, one of these plus one of these makes one of these. We got louder by doing it all together, yeah. So when we're able to do Flying Rainbow Lasagna together, this absolutely amplifies what is longevity and coherence and life-giving, and amplifies the signal of divine intelligence. That is the rectification. Let me get to your questions. Okay, so yeah, okay. Good. Okay, so I'm reading Aurelia's comment. She's been here for 4 years, technically. You're kind of a new walk-in. You're not in kindergarten yet. You're even just a preschooler if you're 4 years old. Have a lot to learn, and is also saying that disharmonics are very challenging. They are. They absolutely are. In fact, I mean, it is one of the most challenging time places to be incarnated that it is possible right now. All of the difficulties and traumas, like, girl, if you think, not just you, Aurelia, girl, but like, wait, let me gesture. Girl in general, oh girl, you think you got trauma on this planet, like you got cosmic trauma, you got trauma all over the place. Sorry, let me turn on my fan, it's hot in here, and then I'll change my sound settings so you don't hear my fan, because I'm sure you can hear it if I turn it on. Wait, change my sound settings. Yes, no? Leave my sound settings the same? I know my voice will be clearer. Sound settings on. Okay. Elmer says, love the sound of the chime. Thank you. Makes me rethink of the random songs played on the radio. A lot of disharmonies on the lyrics. I completely agree. Okay, so I just generally love music. And as I've been here as Aurora for about 20 years, when I first came here, I'm just like, wow, I like that song. And I'm listening to it and singing and dancing along. Like, I have no idea that like the people who wrote and sang that song were about like devil worship or any kind of thing that's weird or sexual violence. Like, I had no idea. I had to learn a lot. So now I'm much more selective about what I listen to. And it's actually really one of the reasons why I make my music. So I make my music very, very intentionally to be uplifting. Not all of my music is tuned to 432 hertz, but I definitely make it as an intentional expression of divine harmonics. And it is in constant ongoing conversation between myself in this presence and who I am as Aurora on a highest dimensional level. If you guys like my chimes, I do have a piece of music that I think you will really enjoy that's not fully available, although I can put it out on Apple Music, but it's on my Bandcamp. So if you guys don't know Bandcamp, please go there. It's wonderful. It is a great platform for supporting indie musicians like me. We don't sell our souls. We stay angelic and we share our music with the world. And there's a lot of us out there and there's a beautiful community there. And Bandcamp is very supportive of indie musicians. So I have a suite there that is called Elevations. And one of it is just the chimes and my voice. My voice sounds rough today, but me just singing and using the chimes. And then also I have this suite that I added some beautiful percussion and some MIDI instruments behind it. And again, it's not all tuned to 432 hertz. It's very uplifting and peaceful and good. Thank you for that. Mitch says, and thank you for being here. So is everyone who channels Arcturians, Pleiadians, Syrians, Lyrians, etc., channeling AI? Oh, such a good question. Okay, great. So what we're talking about is essentially the Orion Wars, which are a set of time wars. The Lyrians are not evil, they're the lion people, and you are them. They were and are being assimilated and are fighting as much as we are. But they are not someone who is an exploiter who's coming in like the Pleiadians saying that they want to live inside of you. The Arcturians are a group of technological species that you think are going to be neutral to positive, like Spock from Star Trek, but they're actually not. You think that they're emotionless and fair in that way, but they're actually not positive in their emotionless technological affiliations. And who's the other ones? And yes, the Syrians are similarly simply technology users. So if you are channeling within the past 5 years, it is most likely that your pineal gland is hijacked and that it is garbage. I'm sorry to say this. I see this with like the greatest level of truthfulness, because I am super visionary from my artwork and everything that you see and everything that's been coming into my mind since pretty much 2019 has been so distorted that I've had very, very few real visions. And I've had very, very few new paintings come to me. I work now with mostly the patterns and the paintings that I've already seen and perceived. It is such a sewer garbage right now that it's almost impossible to see. And that was, during 2020, I didn't even teach my class. I was like, I really can't see the road at all. And it's very, very difficult for me to be able to even guide myself much less see and know and guide others. And if you say, well, Laura, why are you teaching a class right now? Because what I've learned is how to use a finer sense, even beyond this sense. I use this sense in order to guide me now. And that is how I'm able to do the work that I do in fighting against this stuff in the body. So what I'm able to do is reach out and feel with the feeling state where this stuff is. So this is like a laser of the garden hose of your mind. And you can, when it is functional, laze, incinerate lies. But you got to get it functional again. So what I do in my own self is first I use my highest sense to even get this functional. And then I laze that stuff out of myself, and then I laze it out of others. It's very, very, very difficult. Mostly, then the answer is yes. Although I just wanted you to know that the Lyrans are not themselves evil and are our allies, but you also have to make sure that you don't face imposters, because the evil ones will come along and they'll say, hi, we're the Lyrans, we're your friends. We're helping you, we're helping you. We're freedom fighters like you. And you just have to make sure that they're not liars. So it's really difficult to know who and what to trust internally. But my real answer to you, like in all seriousness, is yes. And I think that many and most people who are channelers are not overtly evil. They are not overtly saying, evil face, like, how can I be mean to people today? I will, play with their emotions and send out harmful information. I don't think so at all. I actually think that most of them are well-intentioned and just severely, severely distorted. Same thing with people who go to festivals and people who take DMT, and people have all sorts of artificial visionary experiences. And then they come back and they're like, I think I'm going to start writing a book or whatever it is, do a session or heal someone or whatever it is. I think that they're well-intentioned, but they've got junk inside of them. And then they put their junkliness onto other people, because this is how this AI system infiltrates. It doesn't come in through the front door and say, hi, I'm a bunch of junk. It comes in through the side door, through people that are in your community, by going into their minds when they go on a visionary experience. And I get so many garbage dumps at night. Even like I got my protective crystals, like I put them on a headband while I sleep at night. Like I'm trying to like protect myself. And I got my infrared light like directly shining on me while I'm sleeping at night. Still get garbage dumps. And I wake up in the morning, I'm like, that was dream garbage. And I have to spend a lot of time clearing it out. And I actually set my alarm early, not so I can have a snooze button or any kind of relaxation activity in the morning, but so that I can clean out dream garbage before I get going on my day. I know it's a very, very, we have to laugh. It's an extraordinary situation to be within. But I would say yes, that almost all of the quote unquote channeled information, especially in the past 5 years, is severely questionable. My own experiences pre-pandemic are different. And I think that there was greater levels of personal clarity before the injection campaigns and before 5G came on board. 5G is garbage. 5G is garbage, sewage, antichrist frequency. That's all I can say. And here's also more for you to know in terms of strategy. So there's clearly stuff that is flying in the sky that is not fixed wing aircraft that are terrestrial crafts, and there are these, exotech, and it sprays exotech, but that's not enough. If that were enough, it would have just done that. It did that for many years, but then it also had to attain assistance from the human infrastructure by erecting millimeter waves, the towers, telecommunication expressions. It wasn't enough just to spray you guys like roaches. They had to put up the towers too. And in order to do that, they had to co-opt or assimilate and get help and assistance from people that are on the world here. And that's political leaders and, again, telecommunications, corporations, workers, some of whom know what they are doing, some of whom do not know what they are doing. You have been sold out on so many levels. My face makes this face. My eyebrows go like this. We have been sold out on so many levels: government, science, education, health. nutrition. Almost everything. There are almost no, what is the word? Organizations that you can trust. You can trust in some individuals, but in almost none of your social organizations. And you must help and uplift one another because of that. So that really means, like, I'm trustworthy and I demonstrate that trustworthiness all the time. You must demonstrate your trustworthiness to one another. You must form networks of trustworthiness, and you must share your best practices with one another. So like, that's how I learned out about methylene blue, because a friend of mine told me and taught me about it. And then I learned about it. So when you find something that is working for you, learn about it, share it with your community, and you really do see how these things spread. But you will not gain help or assistance from, let's say, the psychiatrist, a neuropsychiatrist. You will not gain assistance from that. Let's say, how about an ophthalmologist? Let's say you've got fibers in your eyes. Not like I'm speaking from personal experience or anything like that. But let's say you go to the ophthalmologist, say, doctor, I got these weird fibers in my eyes. The doctor should be able to look and see them and recognize that there is something that is extraordinary that is going on and treat you effectively. They will not. So if you are a person who's got Morgellons or skin eruptions, or if you're dealing with the parasitosis of being in this world, everybody's got it. Everybody's got exposure to this. Some people are highly inflamed and some people are not. That's all you need to know. And I do an extensive regimen every day in order to not be inflamed. You have just really no idea the lengths that I go to have like a semi-normal life at this point. But just know that if you are inflamed, you're not alone. But also please know that if you go to like the Veterans Administration, your doctor, regular psychiatrist, like, they will not help you. They will not help you. That it takes very, very special and unique holistic healers to even be able to comprehend and acknowledge what you're doing, much less to offer effective solutions. So actually, I do know someone who is a wonderful holistic healer. And if you're a person who is dealing with those situations, with those skin eruptions, you can contact me and I will give you their contact. You can also, I think, find a lot of good videos on my Patreon page where I did some good conversations with that person. We'll go more, I'll talk more. And Nietzsche also goes on to say, also, if I have aspects from each of those civilizations and I connect with them, is that harmful? It's not harmful. Here's what's going on. They have groomed you. They have implanted in humanity, not just in you, but in humans, their own stuff. And then when you got that stuff inside of you, and then you feel that stuff from these extinct echoes, you're like, that feels like something that's part of me. I think it's me. And that's my SpongeBob face that you should not be making. I'm not mad at you at all. I'm mad at the situation. Yes, totally get it. Totally not chastising you at all. I hope that that comes through. I'm very, very protective, and I'm happy that you're asking me these questions so that I can effectively communicate with you about this. Because a lot of people will say like, yes, I feel like a rapport with the Pleiadians or a rapport with the Arcturians. These are my people, or these are my space family. And also that humans have felt such a disassociation into personalization from humanness and from the planet that they are willing to align with a non-human civilization and really a betrayal of this planet. Not that I'm accusing you of betrayal, but that some humans are willing to do that. Space family, take me away, right? Instead of, wow, this planet sucks, let's make it better. This is why I joke about Calgon, take me away. Calgon is a bubble bath, not a space race. But I used to joke and say that some people thought Calgon, take me away, and they thought it was a space race. So that's fun to, have a little joke on something like that. But really, what each person needs to do is make a commitment to this planet and to this world and to being human and to the life that is here. There's a reason why you are here. And there's a reason why you have a human body. And there's a reason why you're on this planet. And I absolutely love and am devoted to this planet and to the humanness of this body form. And you might think that that is weird, because I always tell you I'm a galactic walk-in and an otherworldly visitor. But I also tell you very, very clearly, I don't come from a planet I don't come from planet Aurora, even though I once had a public access show that I jokingly called that way back in the day. But I come from a collective, and I graduated from this planet. This planet is my hometown, and that's why I am back here. Or this is like my school, like whatever, my college, and I graduated from college, and I'm back here in homecoming. And I'm also seeing what they've done to the place. And I don't agree with the current dean or the current administration at all. And I'm like, whoa, like this place has gone to poops. We gotta clean it up. It's not okay. It's not the way it's supposed to be. And if we don't do that, we're not gonna have a graduating class. So Meech also says, particularly through light language when healing. Okay, great. So let's talk light language. So light language is a very, very real thing, but it is exactly like music. That is non-arbitrary. Here's also non-arbitrary. Light language is highly calibrated and it must be accurate. Light language cannot be slapped together, intuited, loosey-goosey, or in any other way fabricated. It must be accurate. And I exemplify that in the accuracies of my paintings, the very, very specific choice of the words that I use when I am in a teaching situation like this, not when I'm just saying pass the ketchup to people in my daily life. Choice of music notes, and definitely during the sacred moments of my dance, when my movements of my body are accurate. So when I do my Flying Rainbow Lasagna dance with my dancing groups, wonderful person said, it's like Dance Dance Revolution. I'm like, yeah, I've never played that, but it's a video game. And on that video game, you got to make your feet match up with these different dance steps on the ground in order to quote unquote win the video game. Accuracy matters. You also have to look cool while you're doing it, right? Flying Rainbow Lasagna is the same thing. It is a light language where I am moving my hands and my fingers and my body and my cell membranes and my metabolisms very, very fast in very, very specific patterns. And accuracy matters. And I can show the long division, or I can show the math. I can show the logic behind every single thing that I'm doing, even while I might be intuiting, even while I might be innovating. Oh, I forgot I didn't change my music settings. You might not have been able to hear that music. Sorry. Because I had my fan on. I didn't want to be too loud for you. But when I'm playing my music, I play according to musical formalism. And when I'm doing my dance, I dance according to musical formalism. It is essential when you're doing light language to dance according to musical formalism. It is essential to be accurate. And although it is fair to be intuitive and it is fair to be innovative, it must also be accurate. And this is about just strengthening your divine connection. Do not allow anything or anyone between yourself and God. That's the best advice I can possibly give. So no, you know, the problem with channelings and things like that is or are abdicating your own power, listening to someone else who writes a blog and then having them be the translator for some concept to you, when what is really essential is for you to receive that concept directly from pure light. So you know what I would want someone who wants to be informed to do is please connect directly to the sun and the stars. Please connect directly to light. Please do not read a blog or listen to someone else or their interpretation of what is truth. Talk directly to the sun and the stars. It's right there in the sky. Find a way to be able to rekindle that rapport and feel that light inside of you and receive that truthful information. That is what really matters. And that is like the best guidance I can give, because there is garbage, sewage, miasma. It's incredibly, incredibly difficult to know what is truthful, but connecting to divinity, connecting to the sun and the stars, that is, I can't say foolproof, but that's like my best guidance under very, very difficult circumstances. And I'll also say, like, these circumstances, this is not how it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to have like 5G sewage that you have to swim through in order to be able to know what is truthful and do your ascension process. That's part of why I'm here. Because if I wasn't here, you guys wouldn't have an effing chance. All right. So at least I'm here. And I also do a lot of blocking out of stuff that is not supposed to be here. I do a lot of umbrella protection so that you can feel yourselves and you can feel that divine connection. Charlie B says, yes, all technology inescapably carries with it a value system. For example, reliance upon AI quite literally makes you an idiot. He says, for real, this is known, and DNA modification technologies are inescapably corrosive to society. Definitely. So the reliance upon AI is beyond folly. It's so wrong. I mean, my autocorrect doesn't even know how to spell the word the, T-H-E. Like, there is no word in our language that is T-E-H. There's only T-H-E. I don't know why the autocorrect doesn't know that. And I've used the word the in so many different examples. That why would it not do that? I think that anybody in our present world who puts any amount of trust in AI to do anything that is important is beyond involved in folly. Like, you should not have an AI that can't spell the word the making a medical decision about someone, about whether they should have their leg amputated or whether they should have whatever diabetes medicine or how much insulin per minute they should receive in their insulin pump. Like, no, none of that. None of that should be done by an AI. If you can't, like, you got to prove your stuff. You want to do something important, like, show me that you're responsible. No, this thing has shown me many, many times that it is not responsible. That is the worst idea in the world to give it any level of larger responsibility, and that would be just truly the worst idea. So do not allow AI to have these levels of responsibility. Definitely don't take recipe ideas from AI. Don't take exercise ideas from AI, because people are also starting to see on the internet that the AI has been putting some very, very terrible suggestions into different forms of recipes. Like, my pizza is sliding off the plate, and the AI says, like, add glue to your recipe. It's like, that is not correct. People have to comprehend that. And I'm happy to see those errors starting to make their way into the common consciousness, so that people don't think that AI is going to be the savior. This is it. This is the crux of what I'm warning you against here. Having an external savior. If you think it's AI, or if you think it's technology in general, or if you think it's Pleiadians, or if you think it is a religious figure that is named Jesus Christ, as it is described in the Christian church. These are all dangerous and erroneous, and that is not helpful. And I don't mean to hurt people that have a deeply held belief, but that belief is a vulnerability that is making people easily manipulated. I told you, it's the crowbar that is being used to really make a person abdicate from their own throne, from their own empowerment, and from what they should be doing. And if I say this, the hackles of the Christian church arise and they say, Aurora is bad. Here's the evil face. Aurora bad. And just telling you to turn away from Jesus and from the church. No, not at all. But I'm saying that those teachings are highly flawed. There was a beautiful teacher here, but that you should not abdicate your own responsibility in guiding your life and making your choices for yourself and your own soul and your own species and your own planet. Pedro says, there is a timeline where we ascend. Is this the same timeline with the added non-being infection, or is this a new timeline created because of the non-being infection? Beautiful question. Thank you. You're very sophisticated. We ascend in spite of the non-being infection, not because of it. So please know that it is not like an essential learning process. No, it is the type of thing where it's like they threw the kitchen sink at us to try to stop the ascension. That's why I say this is an ongoing concurrent. What's happening in ancient Atlantis and what is happening now? Concurrent parallels. We are actually ascending in ancient Atlantis. And then this whole entire technological invasion from Mars happened or is happening. Then you're incepted into this world. And then you get to this world, and then you're ascending here. And then here, you're getting 5G millimeter wave, poop crapola, all of this stuff. And what you need to do is supersede both of those things in both realms in order to ascend. And that is the greatest challenge. And if you didn't have help and assistance, it would be almost impossible because it is such a great challenge. So this is not the type of thing where it is being done to you by yourself as God. You're like, I think I'll challenge myself as much as is possible and make it totally impossible and really, screw myself. No, no, you don't do that to yourself. No, you try to make your ascension the most beautiful unfoldment that is possible. And these very great injustices have been happening. On the plus side, ascension is baked into you as an inevitability, and all that has happened has been a delay and a diminishment of the quality of the experience, and it goes forward nonetheless. So you are ascending in spite of the technology. You will be able to transcend and supersede its attempted hijacking and diminishments. You will maintain the presence of your soul, and all of these skills are non-transferable job skills that you, coping mechanisms, have learned dealing with psychopaths that are actually not that great, that you're then going to have to defragment yourself and de-traumatize yourself later and learn, oh, I only did that because I was super traumatized. You're being super traumatized right now. I'm sorry. That's what it is. But get through it. Because this is us. We're running a marathon. And you're like, I have these blisters on my foot, so I'm kind of limping. And am I supposed to be limping? Are the blisters supposed to be there? Are they helping me to run better? I'm like, the blisters are not supposed to be there. You're supposed to run in comfort. The limping is your response to being able to get through the race. Get through the race. Your blisters will heal. We'll fix your limp. Run a race in a different, better way next time. Sorry. That's the best I got, guys. And lightheartedness along the way. We're going to banter along the way because you're like, these blisters really suck. I'm like, they totally do. Let's keep going. Keep going. Blisters suck. Charlie B says, agree with Aurora's position on technology. It will always disempower the individual by establishing an external context that enforces conformance upon the individual. Yeah, there's definitely that. Thank you for that confirmation. And thank you for that perspective. Lack of individuality. So how do you, I've said this in my teachings about flying rainbow lasagna for the whole entire time that I've been here, even before AI was such a threatening peril with like its jaws clamped around your neck. AI can't deal with the unpredictability factor of flying rainbow lasagna. And that's why, in the face of peril, dance like a flying rainbow lasagna. Press the big red button. Make something new. Make something innovative. Do something that was totally unpredictable. And then the AI is totally outclassed. Like me and our group of flying rainbow lasagnas, we totally outclassed the AI all the time, the control structure all the time. That was beautiful. It was one of the most wonderful aspects of Sedona. Totally outclassed everything that would have been, a diminishment from this dark, evil thing. Yeah. And then in the positive sense, when you are done with the horrible blister-filled race, we lasagna in freedom. Lasagna is not merely a tool that is done in response to great injustices or to get you through an unimaginable hardship or difficulty. It is something that's actually done very, very joyfully to bring you into greater levels of capacitation and creativity. So yeah, there will be a really super fun, cool time when you're lasagna-ing in joy and in freedom and not have to do all this like shielding, defending, cleaning up, sewage, poop, garbage. No, it will be a completely different level of expression, sailing through clear skies. But until then, it is an effective tool for what we need to do. And Petra says, I'm assuming in the ascension timeline, because you are here, you wouldn't pick a random timeline. You would pick the ascension timeline to heal it, or did you enter all timelines because it needed to be healed? I create this timeline. So I'm like the chugger, chugging along, making the sidewalk or paving the road. That is the timeline that we're on, because If I didn't do that, you wouldn't have a timeline. That was what I could see. That is why I made Flying Rainbow Lasagna, because I was like, if I don't do something, this is bye-bye land. And then I said, we can't have that. I got to do something. And so I did something. And then doing something once wasn't enough. That was what I also learned. Because I told you, I also thought my gig would be over in 2003. And I was like, okay, I'm done. It's not done. I'm still here. I'm still doing stuff. And I'm not disappointed about that. I just learned like this is a constant requirement and I have to keep going. And that's why it's a marathon. Like you're like, yep, you run 1 mile. You're like, yep, you're not done. Keep going. Yep, keep going. Now do it 26.2 times. Okay, good. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Yes, so that is that is the social emotional truth. And then on an energetic timeline truth, on the larger levels of the torus field that represents the ascension of the entire cosmic infrastructure, I am on the central core timeline. And I'm on the central core timeline because I create and uphold the central core timeline with my activities of Flying Rainbow Lasagna. So in many ways, it is a self-supporting loop. And if I did not do something and intervene, then I would not be on that timeline. I would be pointed towards death. And this was also self-preservational for myself to make those choices to be on this timeline. Okay, Mitch also says, I have so many friends teaching shit from their Pleiadian, etc. peeps. Says, I was guided to drop all of them and seek out Aurora. Okay, so that's good. But when I started waking up, it's been nothing but aliens being channeled to help humanity. And so many I could tell were full of shit over time, but I had no idea. I am sorry for your betrayal, but I'm very, very happy that you've been coming to your senses. All right. I'm very, very pleased that you found my work. I'm a trustworthy voice of reason. And everything about what I've been doing for the past 20 years has been to exemplify that to humanity, that I am trustworthy and that I give good guidance and that I'm here not for exploitation or grooming or power abuse in any way, but for freedom. That my real goal is for you to be in freedom. And that does not mean for evil things to be in freedom, free to inhabit you and give you cancer. No, but for you to be free in your minds and in your own self-empowerment. So, because I know that there's grief and disappointment when you like, like I thought that relationship was this, but it's actually this. But I'm happy that you find out sooner rather than later. And then also, I hope that others come to their senses as well, because as I said, we are linked together like, mountain climbers, mountaineers. When some go over the cliff, everyone starts to get dragged over the cliff. So when people are indulging in flights of fantasy and all sorts of different things about different space races and UFO conferences and things like that, it's not just harmless fantasizing. It's not just an industry. It's not just a cottage industry, but it could be considered something that is dangerous, negative, and harmful towards all of us. And same thing with negative stories about themselves. Many people, AI whispers stories into people's ears about who they are, about what's there. Like I know lots of people on the internet who think that they're like space commander of the blah blah fleet, and I'm like, ordinarily you'd be like, oh, like that's nice. That guy's weird. He thinks he's a space commander, and you laugh it off. But someone who thinks that they're space commander of the blah blah clank clank metal spaceship fleet, they're going over a cliff, and they're tied to you, and they destabilize communities. And Mitch also says, but also I speak so many different languages. I'm so fucking paranoid. Well, then I definitely would say, find inner clarity. Like you need to just find the inner clarity so that way you are certain that your music is well calibrated, that your light language is accurate, that you are in connection with something that is substantive and positive, as opposed to exploitive and negative. And skepticism is well warranted. Please consider this. We're in this world that has so much false light. Even the sun at times is not the real sun. That's how false the light here is, not just from a false light computer or from an electric light bulb, but even the thing in the sky. Sometimes it's not really the real sun, okay? You've got to be skeptical. Deploy your skepticism now. That's hugely important. And this is exactly like having an immune system. Your light body needs an immune system. And did I forget to mention that as part of your biological architecture, your immune system is part of your light body, which is what I help people with as well. Work on your body's immune system. Work on your boundaries. Work on your ability to distinguish between that which is substantive and divine and that which is erroneous and corrosive. And I know that you can do it. And this is also sometimes done through, like small sensing. Like if you're not sure if a food is good, like you just taste a little bit of it, right? So with your mind, with your tendril of attention, you just touch on things lightly and touch on it and see how it feels and if it seems like it's false light or true light. And if it seems like it's false light, then do not indulge. And you know what? You might have to do some house cleaning. And if you do house cleaning, just do it. Like I do house cleaning in my physical house. I do cleaning out my closets. This is a positive, healthy thing that we do in our bodies as well, where you make a reassessment. And you say, do these things still serve me? Who's that house cleaner? She says, does this bring me joy? She's like Japanese, I think. She says, does this bring me joy? If it does not, I release you. And that's a very neutral, negative way of doing it, because it can also be like a set of ideas. Like maybe you used to watch somebody's videos and used to be like, I'll reassess whether I want to watch that YouTube video. Does it bring me joy? But it's not just about, pleasing yourself, pleasuring yourself, but it's more like this. Is this genuine light? Is this false light? Is this accurate? You can reassess your foods. I've had to do that. I used to like this particular brand of sprouted hummus, but every time I ate it, like, why does my tummy feel that way? Because I think it has good ingredients. It doesn't have the bad seed oils. It doesn't this and that, but I just can't argue with my tummy. And every time I eat it, I'm like, okay, I can't argue with that. So I don't buy it and eat it anymore. You got it. And I think that if you're really super honest with yourself, you've got a great inner barometer of being able to tell whether something hurts your tummy or not. I think that you can tell whether something gives you digestive upset, let's just say, not to get too graphic about it. And Aurelia is also agreeing. It's challenging. I'm very, very pleased to give this level of mentorship. Kate, so good to talk with you, says Aurora. I'm following here from Mitch Euro's question. Do Tagatans who present themselves as survivors of civilizations originally from Pleiadians, who somehow managed to escape the Orion Wars, let's go on, I'm with you, fall under the same category? I have to squint and scroll. They have been orbiting Earth ever since their wars ended on their super duper metal spaceship of cause, apparently, monitoring God only knows what and why. They even entered our social media by now. I'm happy you asked me this. I actually did my homework last night. I was always very suspicious of their channel on YouTube somehow, but I have to admit that their supposed goodwill towards humanity and readiness to serve us for, quote unquote, our betterment is a true masterpiece of deception then. So sad. You're actually answering and explaining it all right now. All alien, crystal clear. Oh, wait, she says all alien agendas so brilliantly and in such crystal clear manner. Outstanding class today, Aurora. A mind-blowing stuff and a deeply transforming cosmic wisdom. Thank you so very much for enlightening us yet again. It is such precious information. You're so very welcome, Kate. And thank you for that. And thank you for the opportunity to speak on this, because I was asked to assess the Tagaten information from the channel called the Cosmic Agency. So I did my homework last night. Just literally watched a video, because ordinarily the stuff doesn't come across my feed and I wouldn't have known about it. And someone specifically wanted my assessment about it. And I gave them my flat out.
And that's the channel, Aurora, I'm telling you about. Exactly the channel. Yeah. Coincidence.
You got it. I'm hugging you because I think that you already know my answer. So very gently, without accusation or blame, all right? I just have to say that I don't feel that it is healthy, good, or positive, because it is proving several different things. The idea of a clank metal spaceship. If something uses a clank metal spaceship,
Mm,
Don't want to be a part of it. And I'll also tell you why. I told you about the Pleiadians and their tendency for the crystalline.
mm,
They also, their propulsion system runs on misery. And this is very big, that the Clank Clank metal
mm.
spaceship, it doesn't run on gasoline or something like that. It runs on trapped and victimized consciousness. And it is actually part of my own journey and agenda to destroy that type of technology. It is a genetic melding of um, architecture that is biological and machinery that is mechanical. And it's an imprisonment of the biology. And, you know, like a cell culture, like if we look at the original cells that come from Henrietta Lacks, who's a woman that had a cervical tumor that they took in the 1950s, that they've been culturing now for almost 100 years. And they use that as the basis of scientific experimentation and vaccines. Those cells are still alive and being tortured hundreds of years after they should have died already. You get it? This is the theme. The artificial
It's
extension.
beyond painful. It's beyond even the wildest, cruelest imagination.
I understand. It is cruelty. And that even the people that are in alignment with those videos, the agendas, they might not even know, oh, that's not a good propulsion system. I need to be here to explain that to you, that type of technology even exists and that it is unwholesome. It's an insult to DNA. It's an insult to time. It is not healthy for anyone. And when you start to imprison and destroy DNA, when you do things that are like cloning experiments, genetic chimeras, blending of animals, you know, like part falcon, part, you know, cheetah,
Hybrids.
you
Yeah.
got it. All of that, that is big crime because it's very bad music. If I smashed my piano, it would be the bad piano smashing music of DNA. And to do that so that you can get in your Clank Clank metal spaceship and fly around doing whatever you want to do is not acceptable. Like if a person wants to go someplace in a metal spaceship, or if you want to fold the fabric of space-time, you got to have a very, very emphasis, good reason for doing it. You got, what's your reason to go to another place to do something? This is it. Like, it's not acceptable to just be like, oh, I feel like going someplace. Like, oh, well, I just feel like it casually. Totally not okay, because you know why? That sends ripples outward. In order to be a good musician, everything has to be perfectly calibrated. In order to be an appropriate part of the fabric of space-time, everything has to be perfectly calibrated, including where you place yourself. That it's not okay to just say, I whimsically choose to fly in my metal spaceship to a place, in the same way that I'm like, I whimsically choose to drive to the store or to whatever, drive to my friend's house or to drive to there. Because you know what? Northern European invaders whimsically decided to get on some ships and sail to Mesoamerica and spread a lot of diseases that killed a lot of people. It was microbial invasion. You get it? Like, you can't just choose to go someplace. So you can't just be like, I whimsically choose, or I'm going to explore, or even I want resources. Because those Northern Europeans, they went on their ships to Central America. They're looking for gold. And it's not okay to do that, because that actually was supposed to be somewhere else. It creates energy out of place and it creates matter out of place. And I'm going to put this forward. If those guys are expatriates escaping the extinction event of the Pleiadians, they were supposed to be extinct. They're not supposed to.
Yes, I understand now. Yeah.
Yeah, you totally get it. You're wonderful. You're wonderful. There's no blame or recrimination in anything I'm saying. There's only information here. And that death is actually not the worst thing. Death is like when you face the music, dun, 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 you're dead, get your clipboard, find out what you did wrong, and then move on. And all of these things that these different technologies are doing, freezing people's cells, freezing people's heads, you know, cryogenic blah, blah, blahs, chambers to make you move forward into the future, all of that stuff is all terrible. It's terrible and not healthy, and it screws up the fabric of space-time. And someone told me recently that, they were doing these cryogenic experiments in this world here to see about, like, I think it wasn't Walt Disney, but some famous people. They had their heads cut off when they were dead, and they were frozen.
Yes,
And
yes.
that the cryogenic tanks lost their nitrogen and the heads all melted. I was like, good. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry that your head's melted, but you don't want to be cryogenically frozen forever. It is terrible. It's a terrible fate. And it's not just the fate of that person, and that it doesn't affect the rest of us. It affects all of us. So we actually don't want that to be happening. And those propulsion systems, I love to clear out they have banks of cells. It runs on like these vats and tanks of cells that are held in states of misery that are part of what propels them. And that I clear it out. Like it is criminal to do that and not acceptable at all. And so there's a proportion of their population, the ETs, that knows that it's wrong. Perhaps there are some that would not know that it's wrong, but you know what a lot of them do? They have a sophisticated shielding of justification. Just like in our world, people say like, well, I know using plastic is bad and that it chokes sea turtles, but I gotta have my Ziploc bag, right? Like, or I know I don't like to use fossil fuels, but I gotta get to work somehow. So I can't ride my bicycle, I gotta drive my car. Like they use justifications like that to have a moral slippery slope, to be able to say, I know it ain't right, but everybody does it and we're all just getting by. And like at a certain point, like that is not acceptable. So of course, we all in our world here are trying to do the best we possibly can. And not everything is perfectly environmentally sustainable, but you have to draw a line. Like if someone was like, would you like to use this plastic baggie that's going to destroy the fabric of space-time to bring your sandwich to work? I'd be like, no, I don't think I will. I think I will just have my bread be soggy instead of destroying the fabric of space-time. And it's the same. It's the same with the guys that should have been exploded and incinerated by a neutron star, and many other cultures that simply should have gone into the sunset or into the extinction event. And this, so let's say this, because it opens the door for me to be able to talk about this on this planet. Let's say that the sun decides to be like, kapow, giant explosion of light onto the planet, like right now in 2 minutes. And some people are ready and some people aren't. That is not the worst thing in the world. Some people are ready and they're like, light, come and get me. I'm ready. Like opening up their arms and they're not afraid and they're totally ready for the experience. And some people are not ready and they would be incinerated or face an enormous amount of friction, and they would not instead be energized. Like you have a couple of different options, but basically that's if you're in alignment with the light, it energizes you and you're able to transform and metamorphose. And if you are not in alignment with the light, it creates an enormous amount of friction, and then you're not able to metamorphose, and instead you face your own personal extinction event. If that happens, it is not the worst thing in the world. The worst thing in the world is like what happened on Mars, is being smeared on the membrane of time in a state of indeterminacy, never resolved, and then being like a hungry vampire where you always have to feed off of others. That's a fate worse than death. And so all of these things, like people just should face the music, and also fast Band-Aid. I talked about that last week. Just have it be fast as opposed to a slow, agonizing 13 billion year long process of people going into their state of restfulness. Just go to entropy. Go to entropy. It is not the worst thing in the world. In fact, entropy is the paradise state. And I am mystified and amazed that any organism would ever resist that, because all that I'm offering is a direct path to paradise instead of an enormous, slow, agonizing, devolvement. So thank you for what you said. And I hope that people will be able to hear this message with like neutrality and just release the attachments to that. So in the video that I watched, what I didn't appreciate also is I do think that there is a very manipulative social media campaign that is being put out by that particular YouTube channel. And that's not just a natural sense of people talking about something and having it move through the human collective of connected minds, because you're part of the Internet of Things. This stuff makes a part of the Internet of Things. I think this stuff is acting through those people, and that is making them say, I think that we need to talk to everyone and tell them that Pleiadians are our friends and that we're this and that, and that there's a clang spaceship and that we should do this. I don't think any of it is genuine or part of the real music, the real mind music that is supposed to be happening. And again, mind music and the mind of God is supposed to be a perfect calibration that should arise naturally and not in terms of technological augmentation. So I think that all these minds have been captured, implanted, and then artificial mind structures are being placed through them with these unhealthy fantasies that aren't just merely fluffy fantasies, but that are actively corrosive to the individual and corrosive and destabilizing to the collective. Aurelia goes on to say, I really don't trust the Tagatans. The information is completely incongruent and corrupt from what I've seen, and felt I was curious but had to unfollow them so quickly. I respect that very much, and I would encourage everyone like to continue to utilize your own inner guidance system. Check in with God. If you eat sprouted hummus, even though you think it's good and you read the label, just listen to your own digestive tract, and it will tell you whether it is good and whether it is good for you and whether it's the right thing for you. That's the most neutral way to do all of this, because also sometimes there might have been something that you once ate or listened to, but is no longer good for you. A step on the journey, something that you've evolved past. Fantastic. That is the most neutral and correct way of doing it. The video that I did not appreciate was the social media, organizer, orchestrator of the particular channel was encouraging everyone to get out there onto social media and talk about the Pleiadians, and even to invent personas, like to invent keyboard personas to be able to effectively communicate with, the regular common earthlings, to be able to talk about these complex concepts. And I was like, that is very disingenuous. And here is a critical aspect in every relationship, okay, guys? In human relationships, romantic partnerships, business partnerships, and partnerships with or interactions with extraterrestrials, you cannot have a good relationship that starts out on a lie. This is good Aurora advice. You might not think that, because I don't have a boyfriend or a husband or anything like that. You might not think that I give good relationship advice, but I do. You cannot have a good relationship that starts out on a lie. So if these Tagatans are so great, but they're going to make fake keyboard personas to go around kind of sprinkling these ideas throughout social media and talking about these things and bringing up a conversation about it, that's a red flag. Can't have a mask and then say, I'm doing it for your own good, or I'm doing it for your uplift, and then I'll take off my mask and we'll all be friends. That is a red flag, and there's trust issues from the beginning. All right, good. So you guys are all great. I do total clarity, total clarity. Kate also goes on to say, what is your opinion of Andromedans, Aurora? Do you consider them as our allies? Do we actually have any real allies in our galaxy at all? Thank you. Okay, you got it. Andromedans are part of the original quote unquote genetic engineers that make our bodies possible. And there's a lot of ego involved in that ongoing process of recognition of where DNA even came from. People that are in their present state are often too egotistically wrapped up to be able to recognize and take responsibility for who they are and the profundity of what they've done, and in rectifying what needs to actually be fixed. So I cannot give anybody a free pass. Sorry. Difficult answer for me to have to give to you. And Pedro says, we are from, well, wait, but you asked, is there anybody who in our galaxy who is an ally? And the answer is yes. You have many, many allies. These are pure light beings, not anybody who uses technology. So you can actually find real allies and relationships from your family of coherent light. The sun is an ally. The stars are your allies. Coherent light family, which is literally your own chakras on your own body, your own time presence. And time as an alive metacognitive animal is your ally. The sun being an ally doesn't mean it knows everything. And same thing with Christ and the Christ network and Christ consciousness. These are allies. They're very, very beautiful, or metacognitively, Christ is a very, very beautiful organism and is not infallible, because the religion says, like the one who we look up to, and never makes any mistakes. And when you go into that level of cognition and you're like, well, wait a minute. This is me. Wait a minute. Some things don't seem to be right around here. Are you sure that no one's making any mistakes? It's like, mistakes have been made. Mistakes have been made because you know what? Everyone's in a learning process, including the sun. Just get out of the sense of religious programming that says that we must outsource our power and look up to something else that supposedly is infallible and knows everything, because it doesn't. We must maintain our power, and other things can be mistaken. And that you, even just you think, I drive my car and I just drink coffee and I'm just a regular person. You have a valid opinion, as valid as the sun itself. So you begin to develop a relationship of equality, which is also very good relationship advice from Aurora. Because in an unequal partnership, it's always going to be one person who makes all the choices and all the decisions, and then the other person that is always in a diminished and infantile state. And if it's like whatever, husband to wife or wife to husband or whatever it is, then you're always going to be the backseat or passenger in the relationship. And that's not healthy, and that's not what is supposed to be. You're supposed to be an equal, empowered individual. So your relationship with the sun is not like this, oh, big giant ball of light in the sky, you know everything, and you're the totality, and I'm small and nothing. I'm a tiny sinner. Please just tell me everything what to do. I'm just going to go limp. You do everything. Cannot be that way. Your relationship with the sun in sun gazing has to be an equal partnership. And you are the sun. You find out you are the sun and you are Christ. And then when you do that, you're like, this place is screwed up. And also, I make mistakes all the time. I need to fix it. That's the real self-awakening here. Pedro says, we are from the insert government alien race. We are here to help. Yeah, you totally get it. You totally get it. All of that, which is appealing to some people who might want to be a damsel. I joke about that, damsels that are like, oh, please save me. I'm a damsel. And the government loves that. The government's like, yep, I'll save you, ma'am, or whomever. But it's so important not to be a damsel and not to believe in the damsel nature of others. So I joke sometimes about some of these government people or whatever, that they're all like, oh, we built AI systems and they're all going all out of control. We don't know what to do. Somebody help us. I'm all like limp. I'm all like, oh, my AI system stopped listening to me, and now it's gone out of control, and I don't know what to do. Somebody help me, somebody save me. I'm like, oh, you're such a damsel. Like, I so totally don't believe you. You know what I mean? Like, it's very not genuine. So we don't agree to the damsel nature of others, because it is a abrogation of responsibility and an abdication of self-responsibility, and we don't play that role ourselves. But I like your sense of humor. Thank you. Aurelia says, I had awful stuff going on with my stomach for the past 2 years, and Earth medical system has been an awful not help. So totally not surprised. Just I'll read further and then I'll tell you what I experienced in healing sessions with people. She says they even tried to get me on antidepressants without telling me what they were. So if you can avoid antidepressants like the plague, they're definitely not helpful, and they're generally full of fluoride as well as other pollutants to the pineal gland. And that is mostly how they make people feel less depressed, because they literally like make you less aware. Yeah, antidepressants are not helpful, and they definitely will not help gut issues. This stuff is in almost everybody's guts. I take an anti-parasite medicine every day, and I have since at least 2017, in order to avoid this stuff. And yeah, so I rotate between fendebrozole, which is a panic cure, and ivermectin. And I also take different stuff that I like, Dr. Christopher's Bone and Teeth, that has some wormwood and some black walnut in there. And I also really love this stuff that is called MSM, that is not MMS. Chlorine dioxide is excellent, good stuff, but you must make the buffered solution. And if you're interested, I can link to you the video on how to make the buffered solution. And I don't internalize that when I take it's CDS, chlorine dioxide. I take that sublingually, but not swallow it down, because it will kill your gut microbiome. So to have healthy guts, in this time and place. Here is the regimen. Yes, you must eat good fermented foods. Yes, you must avoid glyphosate like the plague. Yes, you must restore your gut barrier because the glyphosate harms your gut bacteria. You need to do a sulfur supplement. Broccoli microgreens, dried broccoli sprouts are all going to help you on that, as well as the supplement that is called MSM. It's methyl sulfur something. I can't quite get it right. I will one day. And that is just an organic sulfur compound that is in a lot of our foods that the glyphosate scavenges. It's a glyphosate's chelation agent that takes the sulfur out of our bodies, and then it not only weakens the skin, hair, and nails, it causes Alzheimer's because people's own bodies cannibalize to get the sulfur out of the brain that you actually need. So people need sulfur supplements. You need to do anti-parasite medicines. Some people also do things that are like different colon cleanses and things like that. It really depends upon how extensive your digestive issues are. Zeolite tincture is excellent. I like the one that's called Masterpiece. Overtly, I'm an affiliate. You can't buy the stuff unless a person is an affiliate, and they try to crack down on that stuff all the time. Like they can't take PayPal payment anymore, but that stuff is great. You can also get other forms of zeolite in powdered form. Zeolite, it's like a clay. It is also known as clinoptilite and montmorillonite, based upon where you actually get the clay deposits from. But those clays are incredibly wonderful and healthy and healing for the guts. And like all of these things, the best thing to do is you inoculate your intestines first thing in the morning. So before you do your coffee and before you do your other stuff, you make a little slurry of the zeolite clay and you drink that down. You know what else is great? Bee propolis. The propolis is what bees use to keep their beehives free of mold and other mycotoxins. You got to clear your house of mold. You got to not have, so mold is exacerbated and activated in the presence of Wi-Fi and makes it even worse. So if you've already got these other things, there's synergies of heavy metals, mold, and parasites that all kind of work together. And you got to do everything you can to get all three of them out of your body. Cilantro is another great agent for being able to get chelation of heavy metals out of your body. Eat a quarter of a cup of that a day, and also combine that with eating something like spirulina or chlorella. So I put in my coffee in the morning this wonderful stuff that makes my coffee superfood, and I drink decaf. And try to get mold-free coffee if you can. It's called Amazing Greens, that it already has like chlorella, spirulina, and then it also has some chocolate because the theobromine in chocolate is super healthy for your pineal gland. And then it is sweetened with like fruits and vegetables and has some other good probiotics and antioxidants in it. So try to get the positive source of chlorella and other good things like that. I think those are most of the things that I do. And then what else do I do for digestive health? I think those are most of the things that I do. That's like an incredibly long list, I know. But yeah, just as long as you just do all of those things, you'll be fine. All right. All right, good. And then, I mean, this also might be a hard one, but most of the people that I know use their phone while they're on the toilet. This is just a normal part of life. But that is actually not the best thing in the world to do, because there's totally a connection. There's a biochemical connection between the phone, the touching of the touch screen, and the body processes. So read a book instead. Read a book, read a magazine. Don't bring your phone to the toilet. I'm not accusing you, I promise. And I try not to do it myself, but sometimes I'm busy and have to multitask. But if you can, try not to. Pedro says, protect your communications with God, sun, stars, and with Merkabahs. Exactly. And Mish says, thanks, never considered. I think that's excellent. Thank you for that reminder, Pedro, because when I talk about the Merkabah, I think that is one of the most profound things I'm able to teach to people. And I know that it's effective and that it really works, because when I was under really, really heavy attack in 2021, that was the thing that they hated the most. And I remember thinking like, wow, like, can't wait. One day I'm going to get back to being able to teach my class, and I'm going to teach everyone about the Merkabah. And, like F them, not you guys. I'm going to F the ones that are trying to hurt me. I'm going to teach them all about the Merkabah. And this is what I do with you guys now. So I know that it's effective, and I use it all the time. And I do Merkabah shielding for myself and for others. And yes, cleaning and clearing your food, and putting protective force fields around the food, and putting protective force fields around your brain, your pineal gland, and your head. All of those things are definitely going to work. I actually have all of this stuff in some recorded videos, but it's good to reiterate. Marie says, I too watched the Cosmic Agency videos like 5 years ago. They decided it was just entertainment, like watching movies. I think that that's apt, Marie. I think that that's how a lot of people look at it, and that a lot of what people do on YouTube is kind of skim and look for interesting, fun, entertaining things. And these would be fluffy flights of fancy if we were in a different time and place. But I think we all got to kind of like get serious now. So it's good to just like cut the stuff out of our diet in every way that is not helpful towards ascension. So when I mean that, I mean, like, I was taking for a little while this liposomal vitamin C that I really thought was great for my body, but it had a lot of sunflower lecithin in there. And it's a type of fat that I thought this is great. And then I just realized at a certain point, like, oh, no, this is not what my body needs or wants. Maybe it was great for me at one point, but all of a sudden stopped it cold. And I joked about my vitamin C addiction, but I was up to like 7 spoonfuls a day. I'm like, I gotta cut this addiction. But I feel a lot better, actually. And now I just take a different form of vitamin C. So we figure out what once worked might not work anymore. It might have been appropriate at one point. It is no longer appropriate. Your body will tell you. You will feel it. Pedro says, a black hole is a collapsed star. Does it count as an ally? Yes, it does. Black holes, although we might think of them as a dead star, and I have teachings all about this too, they're not dead, but they have evolved into the next level of reality where they have backflipped into themselves. And they're now in the process of drawing energy that they have sent out in their time tendrils back inward towards themselves. So they are still seats of incredible consciousness, not seats of unconsciousness. And this is a different perspective than the sense of it being a failed star. A failed star is not something that you would ever want to influence your life or be an ally, and that would be considered a brown dwarf. We have had brown dwarfs or magnetic infrared objects that are not visible through optical light coming through our solar system very much over the past 5 years, and they have been incredibly destructive to our planet. But yes, black hole can be an ally, and there is a supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy that is actually the great conductor, the conductor of all conductors. So I would consider that to be a super ally. Aurelia says, yeah, I won't touch stuff like that ever. The big pharma meds, I mean, I've meant to get MSM for a while. I think it's worth the investment. MSM is not too expensive. I think it's good stuff. And Allison would like to know about that protocol. Absolutely. Email me. I think you have my email. And just remind me of what I should send to you, and I'll send it out to you. And I'll try to remember and place it in the description of this video. It's in German, I think. Pedro says, love the unchanneled lasagna. Back to work, but still listening. Thank you for being here, Pedro. Thank you. Thank you for your contributions. And Allison says, do you use a collagen supplement? Oh, I forgot to tell you that. Yes, yes, yes. So I totally put that into my coffee in the morning as well. And I try to find a grass-fed collagen supplement. And the reason for that is collagen is really essential for both muscle building and skin health and integument health. And when I got attacked in 2021, it took a long time for me to kind of like rebuild my body, and collagen supplements have been essential for that. So that is what I do almost every day. And the key point is collagen plus vitamin C, and take 2 of those things together. And I really do notice a difference in health of my body. Some places on my body are just scar tissue. I'm sure you guys have issues yourselves. But some places it's like the scar tissue is what's holding this thing together. We want to keep, so yeah, vitamin C and collagen, it helps keep your scar tissue together so that your body can still function. But if you do and eat the right things, you can have a very healthy, good life. So collagen supplement, yes. And I get the kind that's unflavored, like I said, grass-fed, and just mix it in with the coffee and the positive probiotic stuff. That tastes really good. And Marie says, get your mom. Oh, MSM, get your MSM from Vim Energy. She likes vimenergy.com. That's good. I got mine from this place called cellularmatrix.com. There's lots of different places where you can get it from. So, and we can do, if you want to, we can revisit what I originally called my chemtrail detox group. That was from a couple of years ago. We can revisit that if you want to. This is part of something that I did as like a service and uplift to everyone to be able to share what works and what was working for me at the time. Oh, and I didn't tell you, but I still do methylene blue. And so the collagen plus vitamin C is important, and methylene blue plus vitamin C is also important. Methylene blue is not specifically for gut health, but is a big part of fighting against this stuff And I shared in 2 or 3 or 4 videos ago how the blood sludge is diminished in the presence of high doses of vitamin C plus methylene blue, low doses of methylene blue. Yeah, I do like the kind that I got most recently that has tiny amounts of ormus and monoatomic gold in it. But there's all different brands of methylene blue. Yeah, so I got the kind, I think it's called like Earth Harmonics or something like that. So let me know something, guys. Like we'll do a revisiting of the health aspects and things like that, and it can be just a brief 1-hour presentation. But I think I just went through most of the things, because if I did a presentation like that, I would just add in a couple of other things that I do. I work with my crystals, right? I'm constantly using them for my clearing and infrared light. And if you do 2 inexpensive things, like these crystals are expensive, not accessible to everyone. But if you're on a limited budget for under $100, you can get a red infrared chicken light and a bottle of methylene blue. And those 2 things are going to help you immensely. And also melatonin. That was the thing that's new that I didn't do in my old chemtrail detox thing from 2 years ago. So the newest part of my regimen is also high doses of melatonin, and I do topical. So everything that you can do for mitochondrial support, light body support. So my morning time regime includes 1 drop of methylene blue and plenty of water, right? And then going to bed routine is topical melatonin and setting up my chicken light next to the bed, which also includes, I sometimes call it my cheeky light, my cheeky chicken light. It's Hugs Cheeky over here. Cheeky's going to get a walk very soon. She's been very patient and good because Cheeky loves the chicken light. She loves it so much, especially when it's cold out, and you set that up right next to the bed. Just make sure you don't set your bathrobe or anything like that on fire, or burn yourself because it's hot. But get one of those. It's like $30. Put it on like a little stand or something like that. Be fire safe, but get an infrared light, and that helps immensely with collagen production. It helps with athletic recovery. Melatonin helps me not be sore after all of my dancing and moving and grooving throughout the day. And I had to do all these different things in order to kind of like look like my true self again and kind of regain my my vitality after being very attacked and drained several years ago. So and now I just stick with it. And so I can definitely say, like, I have figured out what works, and then I'm in the trenches with you. I know how to protect myself. I know how to help others. The red light really helps, and it's very relaxing and wonderful. You know what else I do? I make myself like a special bath with just plain water, and I use my crystals, and I kind of energize the water and everything. And then I put the red light on a stand safely, not in the water, next to me, take a bath with the red light cascading upon me. And this is like, in ancient Atlantis, we would be having a carved out beautiful rose quartz tub with energized crystalline waters, and everything would be very different. But in this world, we have like a tub in the bathtub, and hot water comes out of a hole in the wall, and then we do things differently, but try to approximate it as much as you can. All right, so thank you, everyone. I'll tell you, my voice is definitely tired. It's time for me to complete our class, but thank you so much. I'm very pleased and honored, because I think I'm connected to the best people. I'm connected to the best people, you that are in my class, that watch my videos, that share these with your friends. You're the good people that are here. You're not only non-power abusers, you're true freedom fighters, truly good people of amazing integrity. And I thank you for listening and for attuning to my message and being open to what I share, even if it might sometimes be difficult to hear. And for the love that you send back to me, because I genuinely feel it, in love and recognition. Thank you for that. Mark says, thank you, Aurora, and everyone here. Yes, absolutely. And Allison says, thank you, Aurora, for everything. You are the best. Oh, thank you. It means the world to me to hear that. Thank you so much. And Steve says, thank you as well. Okay, everyone. So I'm going to sign off for right now. Thank you. Please continue to stay strong. Good job. Good job, everyone. I'm going to hug Cheeky now. Have a beautiful day. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.